Well, hello everyone. Hopefully, everybody had themselves a good Fourth of July. It's kind of a long weekend. I don't know how it all broke up for you guys, but sounds like a lot of people are having some good fun. I saw some, touching moments, and one of the good things about the Fourth of July is it brings out a lot of that patriotism, and being an American, we have a respect and love for our military that not always, but that most other countries really don't look at. And although Independence Day isn't Memorial's Day or Veterans Day, if you're from a state that does that, it's kind of all glues into one, right? And saw some really nice stuff, and I actually had myself some baby back ribs in solidarity with you. Hey, Dave. Dave is here. Nevertheless, I'm going to go over here and hit that like and share button, and maybe throughout today we'll get some stories on what you guys did for the 4th of July and what kind of fun you did have. It's always been one of those better holidays. Some of them, President's Day. It's that's for mom to go buy a new refrigerator. You know, it's kind of what they do on that day. Uh, excuse me. But the 4th of July is a lot of people do the barbecue, of course, in the backyard, but mostly, especially when I was young, it looks like you're still doing it. It's when you go out into the park, your local park, and everyone grills together. It's a little bit different. It's not the backyard barbecue event. It's the park grilling event, and then of course at nighttime we watch fireworks. That's how we always did it when I was a kid. And I always thought it was kind of cool because parents sit there chatting with each other, maybe people they only see once a year at these events. And the kids are running around playing. Once again, you get to see kids from other school you don't normally interact with. I always thought this was a cool aspect of Independence Day, a little bit different. And of course, it's very colorful and prideful, and a lot of people around the world don't get it. Why do Americans love their flag so much? What's up with the damn eagle? Why Americans chant USA all the time? And they just don't get it. I understand that. And the reason they don't get it is because they, in general, come from homogenous cultures. If you go to Germany, they're German, yeah, or Thailand, or wherever. They tend to be homogenous. But in America, we have what keeps us together is a little thing we call a flag, you see. And that flag is the unifying point. And this is why America is so proud of the flag, and because it's what we got to unify around. It's our flag. And of course, Independence Day is a great example of that. There's some other ones. I come from Rhode Island, as you guys know, and we actually have VJ Day, which is Victory over Japan Day. I don't know if anybody else has that, which is weird because we also have the Black Ships Festival because Commodore Perry, the black ship guys that went to Japan, like 160 years ago. He's actually my grandmother's neighbor. That's the Perry family's right next to the Conleys. But anyway, hey Thundero.
Hola, senor. How are we?
I'm good. I'm pining over Independence Day.
Pining for it?
Pining, yeah. Well, I live in a foreign country with foreigners.
Yeah.
Of course, they call me the
With
foreigner. I mean, how
filth,
dare they even?
filthy foreigners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, you live in like the cleanest country with the most obsessively clean people I've ever heard of.
they are pretty clean. In general, there's these occasions I see them doing weird shit, but in general, well, you know what it is. They have a little thing here that let's see, I can't even barely remember the word. What is it? Oh yeah, community. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have that.
Yeah. Not allowed to
And
have that in
yeah,
America.
and several
That's not
times a
allowed.
year, even in the giant cities, everyone in their community goes out and cleans it.
Well,
Wow. Like together
that's
even.
just that's just asinine. How dare they?
It's
How dare they have
communism.
unity? It sounds like it.
Sounds like
We should
communism.
invade again.
We should. But anyway, how was your fourth?
Not eventful. Just like I wanted it to be. The wife and I stayed home
Oh, you did.
and basically did nothing. The only thing that happened since the 4th is because the 4th was on a Thursday.
Uh-huh.
The A lot of people had a 4-day weekend, right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
know,
Why not? Yeah, sounds
a
good.
decent employer would give you the Friday off since most people aren't going to be doing a lot of business that day anyway. But I digress. Uh, so there was basically just a big party weekend. Well, out back behind my house, there's this big field. So let me lay this out for you. You got my house and then a string of houses.
Hmm.
Off to the side, next to me basically, but there's two houses in between, is this big church. Used to be an Orthodox church. Now it is a Chinese Alliance church. A
Nice.
Chinese church.
Yeah.
But
Spies.
that
It's for
Chinese
spies.
church, yeah, they own a huge bit of land in the back here. That's basically just like a big field that they keep for all sorts of stuff. Well, I don't know if it was them or somebody else decided to have a great big blowout in that field for like 2 days.
Nice.
And of course, because it's the 4th of July, that was endless explosions, effectively.
And
Constant,
Chinese.
endless
That's a
explosions.
bad
Yeah, yeah.
combination. Yeah.
Uh, so my poor dog, he
Oh
was
yeah.
outside because he likes to be outside.
Yeah.
He just likes to be outside. So he was outside, and there was a whole bunch of booming and banging going on. And apparently, at some point, he had had enough of it and literally busted through the front of my fence, just straight through it. Just ripped it right off, right a couple planks off, and went through it and ran off. Now I found him because he has tags and everything, and some lady down the road grabbed him, and he's not mean or nothing at all. He literally, apparently, according to the lady, she was driving along and she saw him and she said, "Oh, come here, baby," and he literally jumped into her car. So
Nice.
there's that. Big 140-pound baby is what he is. So she called my wife, and the guy, her husband, was driving up the road looking for somebody who might be looking for a dog, and I happened to just be somebody looking for a dog because I was like, you ever get that sixth sense? You're just like, I better go check on him, and lo and
Yeah.
behold,
For me,
he
it's
just
usually about whatchamacallits. But go ahead.
yeah, he just simply wasn't there. So luckily they had him. They gave him some water, and I went and got him, and he came right to me, got in my car, and came right home. So my weekend was basically I nearly lost my dog because here's the problem. I live in a very we'll say cultural to be
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
part of my city. As I
Chinese
said,
eat
on the
everything.
corner, Chinese Alliance Church.
Hmm.
Well, right across from that, we have a whole bunch of very, 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 we'll call it economically endangered uh, apartment complexes. Now, I'm
Oh,
insulated from this because I'm kind of down the street from it, but across the main road, so
you
it's like
got
a
the
5-lane
projects,
road,
as we call it. Yeah. When I was a
pretty
kid.
much,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're not technically. They're apartments, but they're like low income or whatever you
Yeah.
want
I
to
know.
call it.
I get it. I get it.
Uh,
Projects. Yeah.
yeah.
Crackheads.
So they're right across the street over there, and then down all around here. So literally right down the road from this Chinese Alliance church, there's a big Catholic church with a Catholic school, which is the last time he got out, which before we locked the gate properly. That's where they found him at, was over with the Catholics. But down the road from them is one of the Islamic centers around here.
Oh.
So, like I said, I live in a multicultural milieu. My street is pretty much all white people, except for like two families down near the end. Everybody else is either my age white people or old white people.
Hmm.
Um, if you go over one street, it's a whole black neighborhood,
Hmm.
but they're not, ghetto. They take
They're
care of their
just
shit.
Americans. Yeah.
Yeah, they just happen to all live right there for some reason. Um, and so it's a very multicultural situation we got going on over here. And I say all of that because not everybody is as evolved as me and Chester. And
Hmm.
some people, they see a big dog and they immediately get horrified, violently afraid because they're pussies. All right, let's just call it what it is. Uh, Whereas this dog, Silas is his name, he is nothing but a big baby. He has no aggression. I don't even think he's ever barked at anybody in person. He's barked at one person through the window once. That was it. He doesn't bark at the mailman, nothing. Doesn't care. No aggression, no meanness in him whatsoever. But because he's so big and he's got paws that are literally twice the size of my hand, people are immediately afraid of him. So if he gets out, somebody could just, haul off and shoot him, something like that, because they see this giant dog coming at him, not
Mhm.
knowing that he has absolutely no ill intentions,
Especially if it's a
and
cop
people
or,
are,
oh, worse yet,
yes,
ATF.
yes.
Oh, they love killing
The
dogs.
so today we went and got a nice long solid steel wire lead.
I would have went
Um,
titanium, but okay.
well, they didn't have that, unfortunately. Nice long one. I wrapped it around our big oak tree we got out there, tied it up real nice. I don't think it's coming down. He might be able to pull the tree down, but I doubt it. So I think he'll be all right now. Even if he does, for some reason, freak out and try to bust through the fence again, he's only got so far he can go now. He'll still
Right.
stay in my yard.
Titanium fencing,
Um,
I'm telling you. That's the solution.
yeah, that's probably. I even was telling my wife I'm probably going to have to get some form of chain link, at least in the vulnerable spots, because we can't have him doing that. Obviously, it's one, he can get hurt if he doesn't, get the wood busted all the way, get cut himself up, and two, if he gets out too much, that becomes a serious, serious problem. So yeah, because he likes
Yeah.
to just lay outside. He will literally, if I let him, he'd lay outside all day long without a
Sure.
complaint. He doesn't.
Dogs.
He's just cool. Yeah, he just
Yeah.
likes to be outside, and I don't mind that. That's fine as long as it's not too hot or too cold. But right now, this weather's perfect. Um, but we can't have risk him getting out and
Right.
getting hurt.
Well, I mean,
Or if somebody does try to, because he is a rescue dog. He has no aggression in him at all. But if you are aggressive towards him, he's a totally different animal. He'll growl, he'll snarl, everything. But as long as you're chill, he's chill.
yeah, no,
He
they
has
can
no
smell the
aggression.
fear, which makes them scared,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, but the here in Japan, the Akita is a hunting dog. They
That's
never
correct.
go inside. They're always outside.
Yep.
It's an
Yep.
outside dog. Yeah.
That's what we bred these for in America. And of course, because it's America, we decided, you know what? I like that dog. Let's make it bigger.
Oh
And
yeah,
we made it bigger.
of course.
Uh, we bred these, and they were bred out west to help with bears, to hunt bears.
Hmm.
Little California brown bears. Not obviously not grizzly bears, but little California brown bears. I say little, stuff like that.
Well,
Bears that
you
aren't
need
exactly
elephants for
gigantic.
grizzlies, to be honest.
Yeah, you need another grizzly bear. Basically, is what you need, or just a very very large weapon. Um, but yes, that's what we bred him for, was to be bear hunters, and I believe it because he is, like I said, no meanness in him at all. But when he gets playing, the other day, Chester, him and I were playing, and you know how dogs they do that get down thing, and they're playing, and he jumped up and took a swipe, playful one. It caught me right in the jaw. It was like I just got punched by a full grown man, and he
Yeah.
was just playing.
Well, they're
It was
big
boom. I was
dogs.
like, oh
They are
my
big
god.
dogs. I I told you about my experience with a grizzly. Did I ever tell you that story?
I don't remember
I'm
if you
sure
did.
I have. I've told it on here, but yeah, it was an interesting one. We were hunting, and in Colorado, a group of friends and I went on one of those hunting trip thingies. Yeah,
Yep.
and we're at a cabin, but the deer were on the other side of a ridge. But the day before, I had actually taken a buck. So I was up in early in the morning, just kind of dealing with all the stuff, cleaning and all the stuff you have to do with that, right? And the
Right.
other guys hadn't got anything yet, so they went on ahead of me, and I stayed. After I was done, I went to go find them in the valley on the other side of the ridge. And I'm walking up. I got I think it was that I think it was 30-06, I think.
Excellent.
But anyway, I'm just walking up. I get on the ridge. There's a way. It's kind of a flat top ridge, and
Hmm.
I had to go a little ways to take the path down into the other valley. And I'm just walking along, and I notice out of my right eye that I'm being stalked by a gigantic something or another.
Excellent.
So I look a little bit more. I didn't look directly, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I looked a little bit more out of the side of my peripheral vision there, and I noticed it was, well, a giant bear, and
Yeah.
he's just paralleling me, right? And I had my gun pointing downrange, so down the mountain. So I just very quietly flipped it to the other arm,
Hmm.
you know, and took the safety off. Uh, you know, and preparing to take a breath and shoot calmly, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I walked the ridge and headed down the path. He stayed in the kind of wooded area the entire time and just watched me go down into the valley, and nothing came of it. But yeah, that would have sucked a little bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been fun.
No,
That's one of the worst ways to die is by bear because you see, bears are bastards and they like to play with their food.
yeah, they do.
And there's physically nothing you can do. You're
Lions
just
too.
dead if it comes
Yeah,
at you.
yeah,
Yeah, if it gets you, it's over. Game
yeah,
over, son.
yeah.
So
Lions will do that too. They hold you down and eat your belly first.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
lions.
it's a
But
fun game.
yeah, yeah,
Fun
fine.
game.
Well, at least a leopard will kill you first. You know,
That's right. Take your
got a
neck
little bit of
first.
courtesy there. Yeah. Um, but dog
Why?
stuff,
Why do we consider lions noble again? The bastards.
they are bastards, dude. They're bastards. They're murderers. They're retriciders. They're
Yeah,
rapists. The lions are bad. Yeah, they're bad.
they're not good.
I did have
Good.
a dog experience once, and once
Oh,
again, being chill and calm is the
yep.
key. Now, I have
That's
it
right.
a slight advantage, I guess. I was kind of born that way. I mean,
Mm,
people have fight or flight, right?
right.
Mine is neither. Mine is wait and observe,
Mm,
right? And it's just you're either born until you get yourself in a situation you don't know, right?
that's
But
true.
I'm that type, and I've been plenty of situations. I don't panic either way, right? So
Yep.
I can't take a credit for it 100% because you're born that way. You're born that way, right?
Right.
But anyway, being calm in a situation is always very useful. And there was a dog that lived down almost on the corner of a street, and I used to pass by it all the time and go up to my friend's house. His house used to be an inn, and George Washington stayed in it. Yeah, little anecdote for you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, um, everyone on the street hated this dog because it was a big old Rottweiler on a big, thick, junkyard dog chain, literally. And it just barked all the time. It was a miserable dog. It wasn't. It's just chained in the yard. Didn't get much love, I guess. Um, but anyway, I'm walking and it's nighttime. It's not even sunlight. I get nighttime, right? I come walking up and
Right.
somehow he's gotten off his chain. He's still dangling, half a dozen yards of it behind him. But somehow he's broken that chain, and he's in the street and he's coming up to me. Now, this is a dog that I don't really know. I've seen it a few times, but I've heard rumors, right? Lots of
Right.
rumors, right? So I got this dog that's come right up to me, and I'm like, all right, this is good. So all I do is I stop, I look at him, he keeps coming, I put my hand out, he comes up and smells it, and then walks with me all the way to my friend's house. Stood at the head
Mm,
of the driveway, I waved at him, and he left.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I've had people see because I used to be a appliance tech, right? Used to go in people's houses, fix shit. Uh, and I would have people who would say things like, "Oh, wait, I'll get him. He'll bite you," and the dog will literally just come lay right next to me while I'm
right.
working.
Yeah, yeah,
Real vicious killer, this one. And he said they would say things. I've never seen him do that before, and I would tell them it's because I calm dogs.
maybe.
If you get all some kind of way about a dog when it's around you, they know that they're incredibly receptive to it, more
They
so than
are.
most humans.
They like calmness. That is true. I think in my
Yeah.
situation, it was just more bark than bite. I don't think he was
Yep.
actually a bad dog. He just had a reputation because
Well,
he was howling all day.
a truly like dangerous dog, an actually dangerous dog, you won't get close to. Right, you'll know immediately. There's no question. Now, sometimes dogs will be tricksters. Like my cousin had a dog, and he was mostly chill as long as you didn't touch him. But if people, because he was so chill, would try to pet him. He didn't like that. I could pet him. She could pet him. My wife could pet him, and my cousin's
Sure.
ex-husband could pet him. but no one else was allowed to pet him unless he would come lay up on you, even if you sat on his couch. But don't pet him; get mad. But some dogs are like that too, and that's usually because of they were abused or whatever when they were younger, more often than not. But yeah, it's shocking how easy it is to relax a dog,
Yeah.
especially one that's used to people, who hasn't been mistreated, just a normal dog, but maybe has a little bit, they're protective. The other problem people have is they mistake protection for aggression. You
Maybe.
have to
Yeah.
understand the dog's psychology. A
Yeah.
dog is territorial. If you get near its shit and it doesn't know your scent,
Yeah.
that's a problem for that dog.
Yeah. They're
Most dogs.
pack based. Yeah. They're pack based. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a good thing
For
because
sure.
trust me, I'm going to tell you right now, I've heard plenty, seen plenty, experienced plenty of times where a dog protected their owner. Straight up, no question, full on protection, even sometimes to their
Sure.
own life.
Absolutely.
We
No,
would
dogs are
not,
great for that.
as a species, especially the European, we would probably not even be here if it wasn't for the domestication of dogs.
Oh yeah.
They
No,
saved our asses
they're
back in the
very
day, way
useful.
back in the day.
That is
Yeah.
true. Well, Dave says my one older brother. Now, does that mean he has a single brother or one of his older brothers? I don't know. Had an
Mm.
Akita. Its bed was in his big box truck. Yeah, which is a good place for it.
Yeah.
Roger said, I had an Akita. Yes, very nice dog. Very beautiful indeed. Um, yeah, no, they seem to be popular. I remember my neighbor had an Akita when I was young. Actually, one of my friend that does the dynamite, he passed away here recently, but he had an Akita, a Japanese one though, not as big.
He passed away. He passed away, or the
He did.
dog passed away.
The dog passed away. Yeah, a little
Oh,
bit
okay.
before mine. Yeah. Well, we got our
I
dogs
thought
at
you
the
meant your
same time.
friend. The way you worded that, it sounded like your friend just passed away. Like, wait a minute.
No, no. But we got our dogs about the same time. Mine passed a month and a half after his. But yeah, they're a sweet, kind dog. Yeah. But once again,
Yep.
here in Japan, Akita are not. They're not inside pet dogs. That's not how they're used. That's not how they're treated. They are guard dogs or hunting dogs. Therefore, they live outside all the time. So he had his
Yes.
pen and of course, he got walked 2 or 3 times a day, so he wasn't like he was locked up. He was well treated, but it's not that kind of dog, right? It's not like
Right.
mine, which was a house dog. Dave made a joke. Okay,
Oh.
you barely got away. Yeah, good job, good job, Dave. Uh, uh, let's see. Uh, Glacier Mountain Comics says, "Woo, woo,
Woo!
woo."
Gotta Ric Flair that shit.
I'm tired.
Woo!
I'm tired. Still getting over a
Wake
cold.
up, Chester. It's the morning over
Woo!
there. What's going on, bud?
Yeah, yeah. Roger says, "Well, let me ask you too. Would you get that close to a pit bull? Have? Sure.
Yeah, I have. My previous dog was a pit bull.
Yeah, yeah.
Pit
Pit.
bulls are, again, they're not bad dogs either. There's no such thing as a bad
No,
dog.
but they are bred
Uh,
for a specific thing. Therefore, if
the
you
ones
lead
who
them in
are
that
bred,
direction, they will do that quite
yes,
easily. Yeah.
yes, the ones who are bred and conditioned into great violence, they're incredibly dangerous. Pit bulls are very dangerous animals when they're created as
Mhm.
such, when they're meant to be.
I
They are
still
still
don't.
dogs.
I still don't understand why Michael Vick went to jail.
Well, I do. He should still be in jail as far as I'm concerned.
What did he do?
Uh,
Explain that. Yeah, because I didn't pay attention.
so now here's where it gets fuzzy. He claimed he didn't know everything that was going on, but it was going on at his house. For Christ's sake. So basically, him and his family member, I think it was a cousin or a couple of cousins, something like that, were breeding dogs
Yep.
for fighting, and they
Yep.
were training them, which basically means torturing them
Right.
for fighting.
Right.
They had, as far as I understand, I'd have to check because it's been 10 years, but I'm pretty sure they had found a whole bunch that were horrifically abused, and some were even killed. I do believe in his on his property. Now
Well,
he
they are
claimed he
fighting
didn't know
dogs.
all that. Yes, he claimed he didn't know all that was going on. At least not to that extent. He thought they were just breeding and blah blah blah. But I mean, he got busted, so I don't know how true that is. Uh, but no, I don't have any. I think you harm a dog cruelly, we should death penalty. Get the fuck out. We don't need you. You're done. Go on.
Well,
I'm a complete fascist when it comes to harming a dog.
I'm
Other animals, we can have a conversation. But the reason
well,
why is, like I just said, we wouldn't exist most likely as we do if it wasn't for
yeah,
our syncretic evolution with the canine.
I get your
We owe
point,
it to them
but I
to
don't.
treat them better than that.
I think a fine is fine. I don't think you should be jailed for something like that. I don't agree
I
with
do.
that.
I think you should even be beaten. Corporal punishment. I'm not trying to say
Well,
that like out of vengeance. I
if
think
you want to bring
places
corporal
that have,
punishment back, okay, fine. But
yeah,
I don't know
that have
about prison.
corporal punishment should be brought back, and they should be savage. We should make Singapore look like a day at a daycare. I have zero tolerance for animal cruelty. I'd rather be more cruel to a person. They probably deserve it than an animal.
Well,
Dogs
you can at
especially.
least deduce whether the human deserves it or not. Roger says over here in California, they're used for fighting. Pretty sure that's where Michael Vick was. Um,
Yes. No, they are. Um, Most of them. Here's the problem with pitties, and it's a shame because just of what I just said, but this is the truth. A majority of the breed probably needs to go, whether it's direct, euthanasia or just preventing them from breeding, because they've been bred so heavily for combat,
yeah,
right?
they have.
That they can't shut it off. It's not their fault. That's just how they are. And
Yeah, yeah,
you'll be fine one day, and then the switch will flip, and boom.
yep.
And they're so dangerous. Their jaws are so strong that they can kill you. Quite lately happen.
They
People
can.
get mauled to
They
death by them.
have. That is true. That is true.
So
Well,
a huge portion of that breed needs to be bred away, basically, just like we've
yeah,
done with dozens of other dogs. Just breed them, mix them until that's out of them.
yeah.
The
You can fix
problem
it.
is,
Yeah,
yeah, it can be fixed. The problem is, no one wants to make that effort because they're like, oh, it's just a dog. Well, okay, yeah, sure, it is just a dog, but we created them. We have to take responsibility for the things we create. There would be no pit bulls if it wasn't for man. That didn't happen by God's hand. That was us. Humans created the pit bull and all bulldog breeds. We are responsible for them. And it really, that's one of my things, man. Well, most of the time I'm against the environmentalist wackos, but when it comes to animal cruelty, I'm with you. Because
yeah,
especially dogs, canines, we have such a unique relationship with them. They are the only animal on earth that when they, as a baby, as soon as their eyes open, if you point, they will come to you. That is how close we are bonded to each
yeah.
other.
No, that's
It
it
is
is true.
not,
It
it's a
is true.
mess, man.
Yeah,
I have no patience for it. None.
yeah.
No mercy either. And it's one of the reasons I stopped watching pro football when they let him back in the league. I was like, nope, I don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. Keep him
Well,
out.
for me, it was that spoiled little Kaepernick kid who was raised by white people and then completely betrayed him. That guy.
That didn't
But
help.
it didn't help. Dave says, if a dog tries to bite you, you can yank their tongue. You have to be really, really, really fast, though. Well, actually, Dave, let me give you some proper advice. If you got a dog on you, they do talk about the whacking the nose, but that's
Yeah,
only going to work if the dog is in like protection mode. If he's in kill
correct.
your ass mode, that is not going to do anything. However,
Yeah.
there is a way to deal with a dog. Well, first of all, remain calm, right? And the way you deal with a dog is put your finger in its ass.
Yeah,
No,
it does
seriously,
work.
it work 100%. It's over. They don't like
They
it.
will go, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, no, if you're
This is a
being
sick.
attacked by a dog and taking damage, do
Yeah.
that.
The best thing you can do is if you see it coming, don't run. Get your shoe in its mouth. I don't care how you got to do it. If you got to take your shoe off real quick or just kick it in the face, get your shoe in its mouth because your shoe is most likely harder than your flesh. So you have a much less
Right.
chance of getting severe injury if they get your shoe than if
And
they
they
get
might
you.
chew on that for a while as well. Yeah.
Right. That
Yeah.
might give you a chance to get away from them or
Mm,
neutralize them in some other way.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the best because one of the things they teach mail carriers is your mailbag. See a dog coming at you, put your mailbag in its mouth as fast as you can. Like basically punch it with your mailbag right in the mouth, and that way it has something to bite on that isn't you. Or
Yeah.
even if it's just for a second, that can be enough time for you to get away
No,
or
Dave.
get
No
whatever.
weenie squeezing. That's going to piss him off.
It
Finger in the ass.
really does work. It's gross, but it does
Dave's
work.
going to be in trouble. It does work. Yeah.
Uh,
It's 100% if that's something they teach you in dog training or they teach police or what have you.
yeah.
Um, but
Well, now they just teach them to shoot them. That's what
yeah,
cops do
I
now.
don't
They just shoot them.
these. But the problem with the problem, it's been going on a while. The problem with the police, there's a lot of problems, but one of the big
Oh
problems
yeah,
is they're not hiring the brightest people because they want complete authority.
intentionally.
It's this Marxist thinking, right? That has invaded everything. One and two, they're cowards.
Correct.
They're cowards.
And
When
and
I
as
was,
cowards,
yeah,
it's constantly being reinforced into their mind, literally every day, all day, that they could die today. You could die today. You
yeah,
could die, which is true for everybody, by the way. The reality of it is the police officer's job in most places, even in crazy gun America, is safer than 90% of physical labor jobs. I'm going to say that again because it's the truth. Being a cop in America, in most places, obviously there's exceptions, but in most places is one of the safest
sure.
physical labor jobs there is. Yet they're told
Well,
constantly
right.
that everybody's going to kill them.
Well, because they have all the push, right? They have
Yes.
all the push. But yeah, no, there's a huge problem. When I was younger, it already was starting, right? The older
Yep.
cops were not like that when I was young.
No.
They were men. Let's just end the
Right.
conversation with that. But there were already some who were cowardly, and it's only
Yes.
gotten worse. And it's because of their hiring practices and their teaching practices. I understand
Yes.
wanting to keep them safe. I get that. But it is one of those sacrifice jobs. It is
Correct.
what it is.
It's part
And
of it.
it's part of it. And if you're
Yep.
not that dude, then get out. Another
Then
problem
don't
you
be
have
that
with
dude.
Yeah, right. But I mean, another problem you have with cops is this: the average person who goes to become a police officer is not there with the Hollywood idea in their mind, right?
Right.
They're the guys who are the bullies in school who want that badge and
Yep.
gun.
Yep. And
And
it's why,
yeah,
if you look into things like domestic violence, police officers, I don't want to exaggerate, but I'm pretty sure the number is something like 30 times higher than the average
it
relation.
is, and they chalk it up to stress, and it's like,
Yeah.
kiddo, okay, okay. I
Or
think
they're
it's a
just,
personality trait, but all right.
yeah, I think
It's not
maybe
as
they're just
bad as
pieces of shit.
lesbians, though.
No, lesbians are like 1 to 2,
Wow,
something like that.
wow,
It's some outrageous number, bro.
wow. Well, the funny thing about that, oh, this is going to cause a major gear shift.
Uh oh.
Well, how our whole lives we've been told that men are violent and dangerous.
Yeah,
If you
that's
go
right.
look
Yeah.
at the stats, that's not true. It's the women
No.
who are dangerous.
Yeah. They're just far less capable. Men are, sorry, ladies, but men are physically
Right.
superior to
Well,
you in every substantial way. So if we do damage, we actually do a lot of damage.
right.
Whereas a woman, they can hurt you, but they're most likely not going to hurt you, right?
No,
Uh,
and every which way but loose kind of teaches us this. But
yes,
one of the problems you have is men tend not to hit back. But
right.
especially when you have women around women, the violence is
Oh yeah,
way higher. And of course, it's easy to suss out why that is. It's not hard. It's pretty basic. Men are taught from a young age to negotiate because
right,
if we get in a fight with each other, damage is going to happen and someone might wake up and you don't want that, right?
right.
Yeah, so we're taught to negotiate. Not even taught, we just kind of automatically have to learn it, right?
Yep,
Women are these protected little princesses. They never have to engage in that way, and this is the
right.
problem. But I don't want to get off the subject too far, but yeah, don't be mean to stuff that doesn't, just don't be mean. How about that?
Don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
yeah, just be
Especially
nice.
not the sweet little puppy dogs. Sweet little puppy dogs. If you're somehow listening to this and you've never owned a canine, or you've never had one that you've been around on a regular basis who come to know you and respect you and love you, there is nothing more pure and innocent on earth than the love of a dog.
That is true,
Nothing.
Alan. Yeah,
They love you unconditionally and forever. Period. So be good to them. They deserve it.
yeah,
They don't deserve to be kicked and called names and treated like crap. Just be good to your dogs. Be good to dogs when you see them. That's all I ask. And if you
Well,
don't, well, I'm going to advocate you be caned publicly. So,
yeah.
how about that?
I'm not
Fine.
against public corporal
I
punishment
think
coming
we need
back.
to bring back corporal punishment. Get rid of the temporal punishments for most things, right? Because putting somebody in a cage for a year is outrageous when you think about it.
Right.
That is not really justice most times. But a good caning, they'll be sore for a few months maybe after a
Yep.
good one.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I
And and
see,
and
well,
we and
if you're
and
going
the
to give me the
under
option, 5 years in jail or a week of caning for
uh,
every day or something, whatever, I'm going to take the cane.
and
Give me that cane
that's
right now.
true. And I volunteer the Undertaker to be the caner. Okay. Alan says women are critically hurt, can critically hurt your bank account. It's how billionaires
Yes.
become millionaires. I know that you're making this joke, but in actuality, name a billionaire that's not Oprah Winfrey. That's a female that didn't get it from a divorce,
Well, I can cheat and say the Walton girl. I can't remember her name. The daughter of Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart.
right?
But other than that, that did it on her own.
Hmm.
I don't think that exists, does
Yeah,
it?
yeah. No,
If it does, and maybe it does, and maybe I just don't know who this woman is, but I've never
well,
heard
the
of her.
Prada
And maybe,
lady, if she's a billionaire,
eh,
maybe.
but isn't that
Uh,
owned by a dude?
um, Nah, it might be
I'm
just
pretty sure
she
Prada's owned by a
runs it.
guy.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
lady runs it. The Devil Wears Prada was a movie about her because she was an absolute bitch.
right.
But I'm sure there are a few, but in general, most of them get it through divorce, which is really the best segue I think we've ever had. So I'm
Oh,
not
we're
going to pass it
segueing.
up. We're segueing,
Here we go.
because wow, good job, Thundero.
Conservatives. Oh boy, it's going to be a good one. Conservatives in red states turn their attention to ending no fault divorce laws. So I saw somebody on Twitter recently say this, and I wholeheartedly agree with it.
Okay.
The only goal for modern society, for men especially in modern society, men of the right, or just sane men, should be to overturn the 20th century. Just get rid of it. Just all this stuff, all this feminist nonsense that's infiltrated at society. If you go to certain parts of the world, it doesn't exist, and they're doing all right. They're doing just fine. This sort of stuff
Mm.
and some other stuff. The goal should be to overturn all of it.
Well,
Let's go. We got to go back. We got
let,
to go back.
let me square the circle a little bit. All right.
Yeah,
First of all, I could have chose many sites. I chose NPR because it's funny.
that is funny. I
It
like
is
that.
funny. Yeah. But this has become a thing of late. Starting in late June and of course pushing here into July, a lot of lawmakers around America, not necessarily federally, although some noise has been made there too, but this is more in what's being called red states, conservative red states.
Yep.
Louisiana being the leader here. Now, this is a really interesting conversation because you know it's bad when politicians want to stick their nose into marriage shit, right?
Yep.
You know it's bad because politicians are all about, unless you get one who you piss off, like Barack Obama pissed off Donald Trump. That's why this is all going on, to keep it in mind.
Which is
It's
hilarious.
just
But yeah.
hilarious, but I mean, unless you have that, politicians are out to make the money they can make. So their voices are given to things that make them money. For instance, the whole EV thing, the Echo thing. All those
Yep.
politicians are from California to frickin' Japan that are on about that stuff. Um, they are doing it because they're getting money from Echo Electric EV lobbyists. That's what they're doing. So the average politician, that's what they do. You never hear them make noise about anything that matters, unless somehow there's money in it for them. That's how they are.
Yep.
We all know this. There's no need for a conversation about right, left. None of that matters, right?
Yeah. They're all crooked. Every one of them.
But the fact that they start talking about shit that is not going to benefit them at all, you
Yeah,
know things are bad. And of course, the reason that we're starting to see these conversations come up is because young men, the marrying age men, have just noped out of it,
that's right.
right? And it's become such an epidemic that the politicians are forced to get involved. So this shows you how bad it really is, because that's the last
Yep,
thing they want to talk about. I don't care if it's Louisiana or frickin' Turkmenistan. It's the last thing they want to talk about is marriage shit, because that is sticky and there's no profit in it, right?
right.
So it
Right.
shows you, it really demonstrates how bad things are. And the simple
The
fact of the
power
matter,
of no.
the power of
That's what.
no, yeah.
That's what they
And
put.
the simple fact of the matter is, there. If you're a young person and you're getting married, you're kind of a moron. If
Yes.
you're a young
At
man,
least if you, at least if you're getting paper married. If you
yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah,
go, if you want, if you can find a church or something that'll do it without the state being involved, I highly recommend it. The commitment is
yeah.
important.
But it depends on your
Discipline.
state, because then they'll
Yeah.
have what they call time marriage. If you stay with a girl
Common
long
law.
enough,
Yeah.
they say, "Well, you're equally to marriage, therefore pay," right?
Well, yeah,
Um,
it does.
right.
Ohio got rid of that a few years ago. They don't do
Well,
that
they all
anymore
should.
here. But yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
I agree.
here's the thing. Um, if you're a young person, you're a man, you're getting married, you're a moron in this current
Yep,
environment. You just are.
I
You
agree.
shouldn't be doing it, right? Which was what brings the politicians to doing what they're doing. The problem I have with it is the no fault divorce laws, which they've been banging on since they kind of came out in the 60s, 70s, right? Um,
Yep.
and I do believe the first in America to have no fault was Ronald Reagan in California in late 60s.
Yeah, the liberal Ronald Reagan. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
But I'm just saying, just so you know. But here's the thing. In my opinion, the no fault divorce isn't really the issue. I mean, because a lot of the sides of this argument, and this is a hot topic all of a sudden out of nowhere, right? We know it's not out of nowhere, but all of a sudden it's a big hot topic. Um, the thing is, they're conflating. Both sides are conflating this, saying that if both parties agree that it's going to stop that from happening. No, it isn't. If both parties
No.
agree to divorce, it's done, right? So stop your nonsense. Stop what's the young people say? Stop the cap.
Oh God, yes, they
Yes.
do. Unfortunately.
Stop the cap. Okay, so that's bullshit. But beyond that, the no fault divorce law isn't really the issue. The issue is, the amount of alimony for guys. Not every divorce ends in alimony, but none of them should in the modern age. There should be no alimony going either way. One that needs to be gotten rid of. Second of all, child support. Child support should be you could do it by state if you'd like, but child support should be a set amount, meaning this
Yeah.
is how much it costs to feed and clothe a kid and house a kid. This is the cost of a kid, right? And we can revisit it every 5, 10 years for inflation and stuff, sure. But this is what it costs. It's a set amount. I don't care if you work at Walmart or you're a freaking billionaire. Doesn't matter. This is the amount of money you pay for child support, each party, and it should be equal. And here's the second part. That money needs to be put into account that can only be used for the kids' stuff, right?
Right.
Not mama taking a spa weekend, you see,
No.
right? Um,
None of that.
this right here would solve a lot of problems.
You know what else would? Uh, I'm okay with child support existing. I think some people say we need to get rid of that entirely. I don't think so. However,
No,
I
we
do
need
agree
that.
that it needs to be capped and it needs to be regulated and monitored.
Yeah.
But you know what it also needs to do? As soon as, let's say, the female files for divorce, or even the male, whoever files for divorce, and there's children involved, if there is any dispute about custody, if there is any funds that are going to be required afterwards, immediately by law, if it has not already been done, a paternity test must be executed
Well, and that's interesting because
instantaneously.
this noise has been going on this year. because
Yeah.
there's just the huge, literally six, and I think the data is probably lower now. 6 out of 1,000 men are marrying now. That is
Yep.
bad, dude. That is bad,
Not good.
bad, bad. I mean, keep in mind that is way below 1%, right?
Yeah.
And then not good. And we've seen states come in and starting to say, well, we have to have a mandatory paternity test, which you should.
Yep.
That should be
Yes.
automatic, right? And we also have another thing that needs to be dealt with. Stop with these stupid blue states and not honoring prenuptial agreements.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
Um,
I
I
mean,
I don't think there's any excuse why. Personally, I don't think there's any excuse why either contract should be violated outside of extremes.
hmm
But if for some reason your marriage is dissolving because of pick a reason, whatever it is, if somebody else, say the wife or the husband, signed an agreement that they would only get X, Y, or Z, that should
honor
be
it.
the end.
That's the end of the
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and it could go either way because women who have you only have a prenuptial if you have something to lose, right?
that's correct. Yeah,
So men and women can have it, but I mean, there are some easy solutions here because men are not going to win in the long run in the court, no matter what, because it's all about protecting the mother, and I get it, right? But there are some little things we can do to bring it back to normal, and you'll see the marriage rate improve. Of course, we also need to see the Western woman wake the hell up and stop being a
she
bunch of
will.
damn whores.
Uh,
Um,
we're already starting to see this crumble dramatically, and a lot of them haven't realized it yet.
uh
One of the examples is what we're talking about right now. Men just aren't marrying them. They have no
They're
interest in
not.
marrying
Yeah,
them.
they're completely no fun.
Uh,
Yeah.
they are not marriage material. The women aren't. Just because, ladies, I'm going to tell you the secret. Just because you're hot, that doesn't
Well,
matter. Because
let's.
you see, men have this ability to understand, at least, especially these younger ones who aren't marrying, understand that that's going to go away one day.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So if
Yeah,
you're not a pleasant person to be around, if you're not enjoyable to be around, why would anybody put a ring on your finger?
and of course, the
Why?
average women these days, their body counts are off the scale.
Yeah.
And of course, it's interesting that they use the term body count, isn't it? I
Yes.
mean, that's a
Yes.
thing we
Yes.
use for serial killers.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But with that in mind, I'm glad you picked up on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't lead you at all.
No.
Um, yeah.
Oh boy. Sydney Sweeney blows up the internet with titillating. I see what you did there, Matt. Mirror selfie.
Yeah.
Can I just say, maybe it's because I'm spoiled and my wife is very voluptuous. Uh, I don't really get the hubbub about her, other than the fact that she's not afraid of the
Well,
fact that she's hot. Like,
Well, yeah, and let's take a look at that. I actually, that's another thing I wanted to talk about with her. Let me check the chat rail. Alan is definitely noped out. Okay. Did you hear of the lady collecting child support from a sperm donor? Yeah, no, there are
yep,
several cases like that. Most of them are in Britain, oddly. But it's stupid. That is absolutely abominable. Abortion counts, I'm sure it does. I would say that divorce is not about laws, and he said, and she said, the blame. This is from Roger. The blame is on the man and on the woman that are not giving enough, not grow, who do not grow enough mentally to understand that love is and what love is and how to work together. I didn't read that well, but yeah,
not
that's nice sentimental shit, Roger.
yep,
But the truth is, love is quiet.
correct. I have a new rule,
It's
Chester.
not.
This is my new
It's not
rule.
that you're talking about
I came
lust,
up
Roger.
I came up with this rule very recently, and I think it's apt in most cases. You're not allowed to say you're in love unless you have been with the person in a committed relationship, typically a marriage, but I would even take some form of engagement or living together situation if it was genuinely for 10 years. You can say you love them, just like I love all sorts of people, but you don't get to use the term in love, true love, any of that stuff until you've been with them happily. That's the key word. meaning you're willingly there, it's not some weird situation, for 10 years. Because if you haven't been with somebody for at least that long, you have no idea what love actually even is. You might think you do, and maybe you do if you have a child or something, but that's different.
Love
If you
hurts,
haven't been with
love
your
bleeds.
significant other for long enough to have to struggle together
Mhm.
and struggle against each other, because, that's where people go wrong, which is kind of what Roger's talking about. Where people go wrong is once it gets hard, they think that because they don't feel the love anymore, right? That happens occasionally in long relationships. You just don't feel it right then. That it's over. It's not going to come back. But that's not how it works. If you actually love somebody, sometimes it'll wane, sometimes it'll wax, but it will be constant. Like what you said, it's quiet. It's a
It is quiet.
quiet, constant, unending push that never
Yeah,
stops.
yeah. I don't know why, but whilst you were talking, The Princess Bride was rolling in my head. Marriage. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Marriage. Did I ever tell you about the priest that's across the street from me? Remember I told you that Catholic church and school that's over there?
Right.
Just a minute ago. Well, one time we went there for a friend. They were Catholics. They were doing the baby baptism thing, and we went to the thing for them. And the priest sounded exactly like him.
Oh, dude, that's
I
gold.
almost pissed
That's
myself. I was
gold.
trying
That's
so hard
gold.
not to laugh.
That's gold.
I said,
All
"Is
right.
he doing a bit? Is he doing a
Is he
bit?"
doing a bit? All right. Here now let's get back to this Sweeney girl. All right. Let me first of all, what's the tongue thing? A lot of girls do this these days. What's the tongue thing? Explain this to
Well,
me.
there's a lot of psychology behind the tongue thing. Hang on one second. My beautiful wife needs my
Okay. I think they
attention.
think they're all porn actresses, but anyway, he's going to
um,
explain it. So
there's there's a lot of psychology being put forward by certain people about the tongue thing. But long story short, gentlemen, if you're interested in a woman, you find that she has pictures like, especially like this, of
yeah.
herself on the internet.
Hmm.
Unless she has completely repented of this, and I don't mean that necessarily in a spiritual sense, but also in a spiritual sense, repented of this behavior and realizes how stupid and trashy it is.
Hmm.
Just don't,
Yeah, but
just
what
don't.
is it though?
It's it's kind of like well, it's the same thing she's doing with her boobs, really, if we're being honest. It's a signal. It's a sexual signal.
For
She knows what she's
what?
doing. For a facial, Chester, for a man to come on her tongue. There, would you like me to be as blunt as possible?
Oh,
Because you see,
I never
like
understood
blow,
that. Yeah,
men
no,
like
fellatio
blowjobs.
is good. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, good time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's signaling that she enjoys to use her tongue, basically.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
So
yeah, just like she's
it
doing with
is
her titties.
fellatio.
Like, here's my titties, right? That's the same thing. It's sexual
Yeah,
signals.
but
That's
I
all it is.
never understood orgasming on a woman's face. It's like, do you not like her?
Well, depends. Sometimes you don't. There is such a thing as a hate screw, Chester.
Uh,
That does happen.
I've never done that before. Well, this is the thing we talk about marriage. I mean, I've been married a long time, right? 3
Yeah,
decades. And
that's a long time.
my wife and I have like had two spats, and mainly
Yep.
I was the wrong. I caused it, and they
No,
were
you
very minor spats. They were
drop a
literally,
golden sun.
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, but we've had no troubles whatsoever. Marriage is easy as hell, dude. But anyway,
Well,
let's take
it
a look at
also
this.
helps if you're a mature person, right? A lot
Yeah,
of
that's
people
true.
get married. See, we're not maturing in the West anymore. Yeah, like I get it. She's got a nice body. She's even got the kind of body I typically like: large chest, nice round
Sure.
hips. I get
Well,
it.
yeah,
But
but
her
she's
face
actually
is just
quite
not.
normal, is my point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Her face is just like, okay, she's not pretty in the face. She's just normal in the face. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, she's fine. She's a pretty girl, but she's not outstanding, and that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing.
Especially
It
those,
depends on how she
especially
deals
those
with it.
eyes, man. I don't know what's up with the fisheye thing that's going on with these women lately, but
Yeah,
it's a whole problem. Like
yeah.
their eyes are trying to escape their nose. I don't.
Well,
Who designed this?
when I see this picture, this is what I see. First of all, what happened to all those poor bandanas? Secondly, this is a rich girl.
Oh yeah, she's got all kinds.
That is a changing room she's in. That is a
That's correct.
walk-in closet that is bigger than some people's New York apartment. Okay? That is a
Yep.
rich girl. Now I don't mean now I know she's been in a movie. She's been in one, but that's not this. This girl is rich before that, or she's in some dude's apartment or house. But that's a rich girl for one. She's very normal looking girl. But she's getting attention and fine. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But let's see if we get. There's another one. The fuck me face. All right. Oh no. Okay. The tongue thingy, the ass. Actually, that's a good shot right there. That's the
Yeah.
best shot right there because that is that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Um Oh, I'm surprised. What I got you caught me. Yeah, she is a very normal girl. But I'm not here to have an opinion on whether she's attractive or not. I'm just talking about the problem that we're having here in the West regarding the modern young woman. This girl is whoring it up like crazy, and now she's got a little
Yep.
bit of fame. How many dudes you think she's been involved with? Would you guess?
Probably three digits.
It's
I wouldn't
possible.
know specific, but yeah, it's here's the problem you're talking about right there. The internet has made the sexual marketplace global, or at least national, right? Depending on where you live and how hot you are. So a woman like her, who clearly has assets, not just financial, has a lot of options. So any time, she's around certain individuals, men basically, they're going to be interested. All she literally has to do is say yes, and she'll get laid. That's it. And unlike a man who has to do actual work, all she has to do, unless you're like, super hot man, all she has to do is just say yes, and the penis will be presented before her.
Well, sure, but
Uh,
women don't understand that men have two categories of woman. Men are
correct.
just built that
I,
way. Yeah.
that's correct. Yes. And one of the things I've come to understand, or at least the way I've come to describe it, is that for a man, 1 to 10 is in play, depending on how desperate you are.
Yeah. No,
Zero is off the. You're off.
I
Once
have
you're at zero, you're off the mark.
true.
You're gone.
I
Get
have
out of
to
here.
defend my honor.
Yeah.
Grimlock, you bastard.
I didn't even see
Now, first of all,
it.
I've had my fair share, probably more than my fair share in my life, but I've never saw the need to ejaculate upon a woman's face. Sorry,
Some Chester.
it just doesn't. It's a that's an ick. Can I use the new word, the ick, my
No,
personal
no,
ick?
no. You're
Can
you're
I?
not allowed to use
Can
ick.
I?
I'm banning ick from this chat forever.
All
No
right,
ick.
fine.
But Chester, some women request
Then they can get out my goddamn bedroom. How about that?
it. You're telling me this cute little thing's got, and she knows what she's doing. She's got the skills to pay the bills, and she's just like, all right, on my face. You're gonna tell her to get out right in the middle? I don't
Well,
buy
then that would qualify her as a prostitute, and I don't pay for sex, buddy.
it. I'm not saying you're gonna pay. Well,
All
you're
right.
gonna pay one
Right.
way or the other when
True.
it comes to
That is
sex. You're
true.
paying.
Um, yeah. No, I think the ickiest thing. We're going back to the ick now. Um,
Oh God,
no, I think the
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 ick
weirdest
gives me
thing.
the ick.
No, right. No, the weirdest thing I ever did was I actually, me and my friend were banging these two chicks in the same room together, right? Which
Yep.
was weird in and of itself. And we actually swapped. And
Eesh.
it would no, I didn't like it because when I went into the other when I switched the other girl, it was like cold and clammy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was wrong with his
I
dick?
don't know. I don't know, but I survived it. I survived
No,
it. Yeah.
no. So Chester, tell me more about your homosexual experiences.
Well, I didn't touch him. We didn't do any of that. We didn't
Pretty.
do any of that sharing the one girl. There were two girls.
That's pretty close. I mean, that's
Yeah, no, I
that's
told you it
pretty
was weird. I
close.
said it was weird, But anyway, the point being is these two things are absolutely connected. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So what you're going to see is because you see conservatives, which I don't even know what that means anymore, but conservatives are really stupid people, at least the ones in positions of power, because the smart ones don't run for politics. They're like, nah, I'm good. But the ones who do, the ones who want to be in positions of authority, uh, they're dumb people. They're just stupid. There's no other way to put it. You see the things that they do, the problems they try to solve. Too many of them are very, very stupid and do very, very stupid things that don't matter. Ending no fault divorce is a good idea, but it's not a good idea for the reason they think. Because if you just end it by itself, which you're not going to ever do, by the way, but if you just end it by itself, you're not solving anything. In fact, you're just making it worse because now women aren't going to want to get married either. All you've done is block off from, because the one end's still blocked off. The reason men aren't getting married, that might be part of it, but the main reason is the women aren't worth marrying. And no one wants to talk about it. And when people do talk about it, they get called all kinds of incels, they get called all kinds of this or that or whatever. They get called all sorts of names. Well, the reality of it is we have been far too permissive of female debauchery, of female predatory behavior. And the way women pray, the way they engage in this behavior, and isn't typically violent, although it can be. It's reputationally destructive
Hmm.
and it's sexual. So you have a generation now of young women who have gone obviously way too far. Even in my generation, I'm not that old. Even in my generation, a woman having over 100 sexual partners was
Outrageous,
just
outrageous,
an outrage. Bro,
outrageous. Yeah,
I
20,
remember in
20 is
I
outrageous.
remember in high
10,
school, if a girl said that she gave blowjobs, she was considered a big slut. Now, if she doesn't, no one will have sex with her.
yeah,
Like, that's how far we've degenerated in 20 years. That's a problem. And that's why you're seeing these men who, once, what they'll do is they'll get a little bit of means and they'll go to Asia or they'll go to Eastern Europe and find them a wife
right.
because there's very likely she's far less of a whore. And
Oh
she's
yeah, and
also,
more traditional in
wants to
every
be a
way.
wife. Right, wants to
Don't
be
bring
a
them back
wife.
to the states, though, buddy.
No, that'll ruin them. Um, but the point is, until enough people, and I'm going to tell you the truth, Chester, we can't fix this problem. This is not a problem men can fix. We're going to keep doing things that we think will fix it, but these are just symptoms of the problem. The no
Right.
fault divorce and the alimony and all that.
Yeah, that's
That's all
not the solution.
symptoms. The problem is there's no matriarchs anymore. All these
No,
women,
that
and I
is.
see it
There you
all the
go.
time. All these women, these older women, won't accept the fact that they're older. They can't let go of their youth. They can't let it go. There's men who do it too, no doubt. But so many of these women cannot let go of their youth, so they stay like late 30s in their mind forever, even up into their 50s, 60s, when they should be in a more matriarchal role
They should
in
be
their little society, and they
motherly,
should be the
grandmotherly.
ones
Yeah,
regulating and
yeah.
let's call it what it is and shaming the young women for getting out of line
Yep.
because men, we can solve the problem, but nobody wants us to solve the problem
Well,
because
we
the way
well
men are going to do it, it's going to be very, very oppressive,
right.
and I
Well,
would
and
rather not do that
no,
personally.
and young men are solving the problem by simply walking away.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's what prompts these politicians to do something they don't want to do and get up here and
Yep.
get involved in try to a marriage. And this no
That
fault
won't
thing
actually
is
fix
not
it.
the solution. Yeah, it's not the solution.
No.
But
The
yeah,
solution is matriarchs. We have to get back to where the older ladies weren't shamed or told they're being nosy or bitchy or whatever you want to call it for making sure that the younger ladies had some decorum. That's all we're asking for.
yeah,
Just some decorum, just some decency. Stop pretending like you're allowed to be a whore from the time you're 17 until the time you're 27 and that everything that's just okay and nobody should judge you for it. No, everybody should judge you for it. You wasted the most fertile years of your life. If you want to have children, women, if you don't want to have children, fine. But if you ever want to have children, you need to be married by the time you're 23 years old or on the path to it
it's
because those
better.
are the
You're
best years.
Well, yeah, because your body, well, between 16 and 27 is your prime
Yeah.
years as a female. But
That's
just
right.
to give you a categorization of this, to take a look at the bigger picture, um, I was a bouncer for a long time as I was trying to become a professional musician. I was, and I
Right.
made money here or there, but I never really hit. Obviously, I never hit the big time, right?
Right.
Um, and the bouncer job was always there for me in the background, so I could make consistent money. And I always worked in strip clubs any chance 90% of the time because the money was better, right?
Right.
So I have a lot of experience with sluttish women, right? And I've dated a couple of strippers. Don't do that, by the way. Bad idea.
Yeah, it's not a good
Yeah,
idea.
don't do that.
There is a
Um,
there is a fun time, but
yeah, yeah, but
but
don't
don't do
no, don't do that.
that.
There is a general rule amongst men. There's several. Do not date or get involved with single mom ever. And don't stick your dick in crazy.
Stay away from
It's a
crazy.
pretty
It's
standard rule.
and the crazy thing is, like all things in nature, of course, the most dangerous ones are the hottest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just don't fall for the
But
trap.
even though I dated a couple of strippers. Those girls who are strippers didn't
Yep.
even have like a dozen men under their belt
Right.
back in that time, and that was considered quite sluttish. A girl that's got
Yep.
like 6, 8, 10 men. Ooh, my goodness, that's a slutty girl, right? But these days they're saying "hold my beer" in an epic way. And this is a big part of the problem, right? But I think the matriarchy idea is good if you really give some men some just simple protections like standardized child support,
Yep.
honor prenuptials, these kind of things. You can definitely maybe make some headway, but it shows you how bad it is. It shows you how bad
Yes.
it is that the politicians get involved, and I guarantee you,
I
none of them want to.
I am okay with no fault divorce on two conditions. One, the marriage contract, because that's what it is, in order for it to be broken without a breach of morality or legality, which is, what it used
And
to be.
both parties agreeing.
Both, yes. Without that happening, has to be bought out at a price that would be determined by the
Ooh.
court.
Well, now we're
So
coming
if you
back
want
to
out,
the power of dowry.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That was what it was for. It was an
Yeah.
investment.
Dude,
If you want out, you owe the money.
you want to straighten shit out, go back to dowries, dude.
I'm
Seriously.
I'm a full and complete advocate for at least informally arranged marriages. I don't know about formally, that might be a little too much, but informally, whereas the parents basically sign off or it just doesn't happen. I think
Right.
there's a
Well,
reason we developed that system in every culture that's ever had civilization that matters.
yeah,
It's
everybody
because it
has it.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because dowry, there's skin in the game for everybody.
right,
That's what the dowry
right.
does. And like I said, in the East, it's the man paying the dowry. In the West, it's the woman paying the dowry
Yep.
or their families.
Whoever wants out has to pay,
Yeah,
has to
yeah.
put up some money to pay for it.
And it's irrelevant.
I
Yeah.
think that's reasonable.
It is, but we'll see because I was really surprised that this became a thing. Because it is a thing. Now, of course, NPR here is it's disgusting. Okay, but let's move on to the next story. But it's heating up. It's heating up.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
It's only going to get worse too. And the only solution is, and it's going to happen because as we've seen with everything else, we've seen um, the dollar is dying. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the petrodollar, the American standard of living is
it's
about to be
already dead,
crushed
dude.
in a way
It's dead.
It's about to be crushed in a way we've never seen before. Um, that's going to force conservatism. Because remember,
Yeah,
everybody wants to forget COVID. Everybody just wants to pretend it didn't happen. Do
yeah,
you remember the first 2 months of COVID? How suddenly everybody was a conservative? Everybody was a hardcore conservative for two
yeah.
months.
Well, you start
COVID hit.
actually taking rights away. People have an opinion. Yeah,
Yep. When you start having to worry about tomorrow, today gets a whole lot more serious.
right. Well,
Everybody became a conservative
well,
real quick.
in
And
that
that's what's going to happen in this environment. It's going
right.
to happen.
And in that regard, though, what you have to understand, even though the government is screaming and yelling the opposite direction, the reality is the West is already in a depression, not recession, depression.
Correct.
You're already in it. I don't care how much Biden's people say, no, everything's great. They're lying to you.
That is a
Every
lie.
economist is screaming, and no one is reporting it because They don't want to talk. Neither side wants to talk about it. The West is in a full blown depression right now, and it's going to start biting, and it already
Yep.
is. And the thing is, Donald coming in, if he can win, if Donald comes in, I think he can lighten it. I think he could probably shorten it. But that is a major wheelbarrow to have to haul around. And
Yep.
honestly, we need someone like a Donald Trump to deal with it. To be fair,
We need
uh,
someone to go in and intentionally burst the bubble.
yeah,
All of them.
yeah, you
They're
do.
just somebody who's willing to take the flack of being the guy who presses the button so
Mm,
we can fix the problem. Right now, we have this lodestone on our neck,
mhm.
right? Where we have, 34, 36, whatever the number is. It's ridiculous. $1 trillion in debt, quote unquote. And then that's only the fiduciary debt. We also have unfunded liabilities in the who knows,
Yeah,
probably close to 200 trillion. What that means is we're completely insolvent as a country.
yeah,
So
it's bad.
someone is going to have to pull that rug
Some
eventually.
unless we can dig up Ross Perot.
Yeah. Unless we can get to that big asteroid that they found that's made of pure gold,
Hmm.
maybe we can get that and
Hmm.
that'll solve the
Well,
problem.
there's
Uh,
another thing. We need to imagine if the governments of the world actually put work together, or at least even individually, and started going and mining. We have the tech for it. We can mine in
yeah.
space. We
Well,
have the
they're
tech for
coming.
it, and I'm sure they're
There's a whole
already
bunch of
doing it. To
companies.
be honest with you,
Yeah,
and
there's a
good.
bunch of companies that have already started that are preparing for this.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that's probably why Space Force was created,
yeah.
if we're being honest, is because they know that that's coming, so they want to get out in front of it. Because China's
Well,
already obviously talking about it.
yeah,
They're
but
ready
they
to. They
they
want
can't
to do
even
it.
get out they can't get more than a
Yeah,
1,000 feet off the ground, dude. Things blow up,
exactly.
because it's made in China. But you have other issues that are coming on you too, that are going to just exasperate the situation, right?
Yeah,
These geniuses, with the United Nations and the Bilderberg Group, and their whole 2035, is it, net zero idea? Well, here's the problem you have. Electric cars are only going to give you a window of about 4 years, really,
yep,
because every year that goes by you're using it, the charge time and therefore the kilometers or miles that you can go are reduced. And the average right now is about 7 years that you have to replace the battery packs, which is equivalent to buying a new car anyway. So no one can afford that shit, right?
yep.
And the technology's just not there. And then on top of it, you want to flood the market with millions of EVs. Where are you going to get the electricity for that anyway? That people have to wait around 20 minutes to just get a, effectively a 30-40% charge. I mean, where are you going to get all this electricity from? Where do you think you're going to get it? And then you have other pressures on the grid, such as, say, AI, right? Which is one of the big problems with AI, and it's coming, is it's going to put incredible pressure on the electrical grid. And think about this. Okay, you can't use coal to power your stuff because ooh, dirty. You can't use any kind of form of gasoline because ooh, dirty. Nuclear power, ew, it's this Nazi. So where in the hell you going to get your energy from, right? Solar energy doesn't work. You can have a field the size of freaking Texas and it'll power legitimately, 100 houses, right?
Yep.
Solar power doesn't work. Wind power is way crazy expensive. It doesn't. It's not. The value is nowhere near what it actually produces. Hydropower works good, but you got to be in the right place, and that's already being done. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to get all this energy to power your AI insurgency here and all of your EV crap? Where are you going to get it from? Well, you're not. You're not. So you're basically forcing people out of vehicles just in general. So what are you going to do? Well, you got to throw them on the grid, which is what they want. They want you taking the bus and they want you on the train and stuff like that because they're geniuses, you see. But the thing is, those infrastructures are already poor, broken, and not sufficient for the load they have already. And you're talking about putting adding a factor of 10 or more on top of that. You don't have the money, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the systems, you don't have the people, you don't have the energy. What the hell you think you're going to do, big old UN geniuses? I mean, that's the reality. And that's all sitting on top of a complete market collapse, a complete petrodollar collapse. And you think that that this depression that we're in is going to be a soft sell? Jesus, unbelievable, dude.
It's going
That's
to get bad.
That's the reality.
Yep.
These
Yep.
idiots, these morons, they act so superior, but they haven't thought anything out.
Well, that's
And
usually what
who am
happens.
I? I'm nobody. I'm a freaking English teacher in Japan, dude. I'm nobody, and I can see it. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on to the
Lots of
joys of living in France.
yes. Paris plunged into chaos as riots gripped city with far right set for crushing election loss. So they stole the election in
They
France.
did.
Got it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And you know
Um.
the funny thing about that though is
Yeah.
the groups that came together to form a coalition government against Le Pen. All of them just a week ago were screaming how much they hate Macron, how much they hate him. But what did they
Yeah.
do? They came together, created a coalition, and who did they make a deal with?
What a surprise.
Yeah,
What a surprise. No, France is done. Most of the West is done unless there is an upswell of hopefully temporary but a necessary purging of people who don't belong there. All first
yeah.
generation immigrants are going to have to go. All of them. I don't care what they do. I don't care how much benefit they are to the economy. If you want to save France, I'm not even talking about a racial thing. I don't care what color they are. I don't care where they're from.
No, it
They all got
depends
to go.
on nationalistic views, right? If you're
They
all
all got
happy
to
to be
go.
French, who cares what they look with? Yeah, that's right. No, I agree with that. And of course, obviously, you let these migrants who come in who don't have the same values of you, and of course, you're going to have problems, right?
Yep.
But now keep in mind that every summer, for my life, probably longer than me, I'm sure, there are riots and burning in France every year
Yep.
because that's what the French do. They burn shit down. But this is the same thing as going on in Britain, right? The idiots in Britain get rid of the Tories who were supposed to be conservatives and they weren't acting anything like conservative at all, right? They were very liberal. And then they've just elected the communists. Literally people who walk around with communist flags. They've literally elected the communists. And I
Yep.
don't mean socialist like in America or here in Japan. I mean communists, right? Full on. So Britain's screwed. But yeah, and we got an Olympics in 3 weeks, by the way, just so you know.
No, I think France is. I've been saying this for years. France is heading for the seventh republic because there's just no way this can keep up. The French are known for revolting against their leaders violently, and I just don't see that lasting. I mean, Paris is a shithole, literally, literally. It's not. Nobody. I've seen thousands of posts now by people who wanted to go have a magical experience in Paris, and they were just completely destroyed by the fact what they went there and saw. It's done. What was
Yeah, it's
considered for
really bad.
years
Paris is bad.
the most
Yeah,
incredible city in the world is over.
and
It's
it's an
it's gone.
ancient city too.
Yeah,
Literally, it's supposedly named after Paris. The
that's right.
Trojan guy.
That's right.
I mean,
So
literally, it's named after that dude.
these people, they win and they still go into riots. Uh, the reality is the only way this gets better, and I don't know if it does, but the only way that it does is equal or greater active violence. It's just the truth. And I'm
Possibly.
not calling
Yeah.
for it. I'm just observing it, and I really don't see
Well, it
how you
always
fix
does.
like in other times when France needed fixing, or well, allegedly, that's what had to happen.
Yeah.
There was a
Every time.
time, a turn of the last century, where the communists had taken over Paris completely. It was
Yep.
completely a commune, the whole deal. And what happened was eventually the rurals, the elites out there had had enough of this bullshit and just went and took their capital back. and killed all the communists.
Right.
That's what you have to do.
Which
You
is
can't. We have to stop pretending the only solution for communism isn't to kill the communists, because
well,
it is.
and there was a little German painter that did something similar.
He tried. He
He
did
did.
try. He didn't like him much.
They didn't like him much.
But
Yeah. But but yeah, things are definitely on fire, and coupled with all the economic nonsense. But this is a cycle. This is how humans are. We're
yep,
just in this cycle. Now, I see here Roger says we all better prep. We can get goods and water and oatmeal and stuff like that. Obviously, you should always be ready for an emergency. I mean, that's just
yep,
common sense, particularly if you live in a place that has earthquakes every day. Anyway,
yep.
um, but no, actually, Roger, what you need to do is this. And you've seen huge number of people have been doing it over the past decade or so. You need to homestead, right? If you got some land, if not, get a group of friends together, get some land, or whatever, and just do subsistence farming. If you have yourself a garden or a farm, you don't have to make money off it. Just to get some food and stuff like that, you'll be completely fine. And keep in mind that throughout history, every time we get into this swing of the pendulum that we're in right now, that's exactly what happens. Victory gardens are a thing for a reason, right?
Yep.
It's just the way it goes. Humans always kind of fall back into that. So if you actually these preppers getting there, oh, my food will last me 5 years. No, that's not the way. It's not the way. The way is to get yourself a piece of land, get some chickens. If you got enough land, you can actually do some pig rotation. That's great. You can make some money off that too, and just have a subsistence farm, a little one. You don't
That's
need a
how
lot of
humans
land, dude.
existed for fucking 10,000, 20,000 years. That's how
Yeah,
humans
yeah, yeah.
existed.
Well, I mean, it always falls back to that. It always falls back to that. That's actual what a actual survivalist would do. This nonsense of people having
Some of them
bunkers
have
and a lot of them have.
homesteaded.
It's a huge
Yeah,
movement toward it. But I mean,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. These people,
yeah.
these preppers. That's not actually the way to do it.
It's just hoarding is really all it is.
Yeah,
You're just giving yourself a moral excuse to hoard.
and whatever.
Because a
Yeah,
lot of hoarders, yeah,
yeah,
and it's fine. I mean, it's your money, do what you want with it, and you're not hurting anybody, I guess. But yeah, no, it's the reality of it is, if shit goes all the way sideways,
yeah.
someone's just gonna probably come take all of that from you. And there, unless you are somehow come up with some allies or something, if you don't have more guns than them, they're most likely gonna win. So if it gets real, real bad to where we got warlords and
Which
shit,
I don't think it will, but
I don't either. But if it did, the warlord's just gonna come take your shit. And I mean, you might think you're John Rambo, but you're not.
you're
So
not.
he's
Yeah,
gonna win that fight.
yeah. But I mean, that's extreme, and I don't think that's happening. We're not in the Thunderdome. But that
Not
is
yet. Maybe.
well, yeah.
Maybe
But I
one
mean,
day.
the simple little victory garden is a very good proof against this kind of situation that's coming. It's a very good proof. And I live in a place, and there are many places around the world that never stopped doing that. Right? I
Right.
am surrounded by gardens, old
Yeah.
ladies moving through the gardens every day. I get fresh vegetables and fruit all the time, right?
Excellent. I love
It
it.
yeah, no, it is, most places in the world still do that. Subsistence farming is just a fortification against hard times, right?
It's
Um,
actually, we've got all sorts of studies on it. It's actually probably the healthiest way to do agriculture because it's small scale. See,
yeah,
the big problem with agriculture is the scale of it. Industrial agriculture is just so destructive to the local ecology that I mean, this is why vegetarianism and veganism is stupid because
right.
you're doing more damage than just the guy who owns some pigs. Way
Well,
more damage and
yeah.
largely irreparable damage, at least for decades, what they've done to
Well,
the soil.
yeah, and Monsanto is a major villain in this, amongst many. We could do a series on Monsanto, but
Oh, yeah.
there's a reason why you have small little farms with hedgerows around them. Those
Yep.
hedgerows serve multiple purposes, by the way, and Monsanto
Yep.
seemingly missed that class. Yeah.
No, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't
They
care.
simply
They
don't
just
care.
tear it up. But what a
Yep,
hedgerow does is one, it cuts up the wind because you don't want wind just ripping across the plane, right?
that's how
Um,
fires start. Yep.
well, yeah, and it just isn't good for seating. It isn't. It's not good for a lot of things. But hedgerow creates a wind barrier. One, two. It also is a place where all those kind of little things like mice and snakes and bees and insects and all that kind of stuff live happily in their little lives. Those things are essential to a healthy garden. A lot of people, I gotta
Right.
kill them with the pesticide. Yeah, if you're trying to be industrial, I suppose. But running a normal little farm, this is far from an issue. And it's, but you know what they do in Japan? They don't
Hmm.
use pesticides. You know what they do?
What?
What they do is they farm and collect a little insect called a mantis, right?
Yeah.
And they will take these mantis and they'll put several hundred of them in their garden. And the mantis lives all happy, and then the insects come by, they eat them, and the ecosystem works really nice, and their fruits are fine, their vegetables are fine. It's a natural pesticide that works really, really well, right? And a
Right.
hedgerow is a major aspect of that functioning. So I'm just saying that that's the solution. Prepping is not the solution. And honestly, I think we're in a full depression, guys. We are. I'm in Japan, and this is a closed economy. Therefore, it won't hit us as hard. And the Japanese authority knows this, and that's why they do it the way they do. Now, Japanese aren't going to be traveling outside the country very much. But inside we'll be fine. But you don't have a country, you don't have a government that gives a shit about you. Is a problem, right?
Correct.
Therefore, you got to give a shit about yourself. And you're in a full blown depression. You're in it. You're in it, right?
Yep.
Therefore, having a little victory garden is, it is a smart move, dude. It's a very smart move. Anyway,
Yep.
yeah, frickin' France, dude.
Yeah,
And
France is. All of this is to say that France is toast. If the people of France, whether they're right, left, center, I don't care. If you don't understand what's happening to your country, you support this invasion of these people who hate everything about France. They hate everything about, especially the Catholicism and the history of it.
oh yeah,
They hate everything about
they hate
France.
religion,
Every
yeah.
you think these Muslims don't know the name Charles Martel? You think they don't know what that means to
Or
the French
or
people?
Charlemagne.
Oh, fuck, Charlemagne. You think they don't know those names? They don't remember? I bet you they do. I bet you even the dumbest among them knows those two names
Yeah.
because they were two striking
Well,
defeats for
it,
Islam.
it was, and do keep in mind that what you have going on here is communists and the
Yep.
Muslims. Muslims aren't stupid. They may be
No,
fanatical, but they're not stupid, and they will happily work with their enemy, and then they'll have a night of long knives. Right? That's how
that's
they
correct.
operate.
They've done it for 1,400 years. It's
Well,
not a new tactic.
it's not. And the Muslims teamed up with the communists here to push out Le Pen
Yep.
and the majority of France. Keep in mind, this is mainly Paris that is holding everything up, the city, which is a problem everywhere. And they've sided with their hated enemy Macron. Keep in
Yep.
mind, the Muslims did this, and they hate communists,
Oh yeah.
right?
Hate them.
Everyone
Not
hates
fans.
communists.
Yes.
But
Well,
yeah,
especially the Muslims because they're not afraid to call the Bolsheviks Jews like Westerners are because the Bolsheviks are Jews by and
well,
large,
sure,
even today.
the whole thing is created by Jews, but
Yeah.
not pointing any
But the
fingers.
Muslims aren't afraid of that fact. They're
No,
very
no,
open
no,
about
they're
it.
very open about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is an interesting turn of events, and of course, Paris is on fire, and Olympics in 3 weeks. Let's move on.
Yay!
Let's move on, though.
Yay!
Yay! And get away from direct
Uh
politics into indirect politics, shall we?
oh, here we go. Oh, there he is, Neil. Sandman creator Neil Gaiman accused of sexual assault. Uh oh.
Uh oh.
Uh
Uh
oh.
oh. Now,
Rutro Radios.
now, as much as he talks about and promotes gayness, he
Yeah.
does have a kid.
He
So
also, I mean,
Yeah.
I look at him. I believe it. I'm
Well,
just saying.
you
Look at
find
him.
Jews everywhere. But anyway,
Well, no,
um,
I mean, yes, he's clearly a very Semitic person.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just mean, if you were to give me a list of, say, 3 of these guys committed an essay somewhere, and he was on there, and there was a picture, I'd be like, yeah, he's probably one of them. I
okay.
just look at him.
Now I'm curious because we have a girl named Scarlett. She's 23, and she
Yeah.
alleges that gay men sexually assaulted her roughly, rough sex, I guess, within hours of their first meeting in February 2022. All right, so in a bath, and he says, "Well, we were just cuddling to make out, and we did some digital sex, and I didn't do anything to her she didn't want." But here's the thing. Why are we hearing about this 2 years later? Why all of a sudden are the cops involved 2 years later?
Why? Wait. Even from what I'm hearing, what I'm reading here, for this first one, this Scarlet, why are the police involved at all?
Right. Well,
I
because
don't.
she says that it wasn't consensual. She was basically
Well,
raped. So
here's
why
the
two
problem.
years later though?
Here's the problem. I'm going to read this part to you. I'm going to read this part to you. His position is that over the 3-week sexual relationship that followed, they only ever engaged in consensual. Here's the key word: digital penetration.
Which I'm not sure what that is.
I'm assuming that means like they were on a video situation and she was doing things with her hoo ha at his behest, is what I'm guessing.
Okay.
Uh,
So yeah.
she alleges that within this otherwise consensual relationship, whatever that means,
And keep in mind
Gaiman,
he's 60 something, by the way.
yes, engaged in rough and degrading penetrative sexual acts with her. Now,
Uh-huh.
hold on,
Uh-huh.
hold on. These two things cannot be in the same situation.
No.
If
No.
one was digital, he didn't penetrate you. You penetrated you. So if you did that of your own volition, how could he have done anything wrong?
Yeah,
Even if
well,
he was like, even if he was in some way, being a little bit manipulative or whatever, it's
whatever.
a computer or a phone. Turn the thing off. I'm sorry, I am sick of this game, especially for a 23-year-old. Come on, bro. I'm sick of this game that these people have no agency.
Yeah, it is
No, you
weird.
don't get to
But
allege sexual assault digitally. That's
but
no.
but
No.
my question is, why did she go to the police 2 years later?
Uh huh.
It's very
Uh huh.
weird.
Sounds
And
like she needs money.
Gaiman's a good writer. I mean, he is.
Yes.
But I'm not some Gaiman fan. I don't really give a
No,
shit. But the
me neither.
second one is even more interesting because that happened 21 years ago.
No. Listen, little fun fact about me. I've shared it on here before. Little fun fact about me. I am actually a survivor of sexual assault. Actually, when I was a child, that happened. I didn't wait to talk about it. I found, this idea that these people need to wait and wait and wait. I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's horrendously traumatic. You never get all the way over it. You just don't. But this idea that we should just accept somebody who waited 20 years. That's an entire generation of people.
21.
20 years. Oh, I'm sorry. 21. The baby that she could have had from him raping her could be drinking beer right now,
Yeah.
is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. You're
Yeah.
going to need some serious evidence before I believe you. Serious. Before I even take you seriously.
And
Serious evidence.
both of them are complaining about rough sex. So I guess O'Neill likes it rough. But then again, I found women, even the nice little churchy looking ones, they like it rough, dude. Women like rough
Yeah,
sex. It is weird.
they do.
I've actually had a woman take my hand and put it around her own throat.
Yeah,
It's weird.
pretty common.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like I don't
Uh,
know what that is. Women and masochism. I
Most
don't.
of them like to be spanked hard too, not just a little play. Like they like handprint. In my
It's
experience,
weird. Yeah, but women are
I
weird that
don't
way.
like it. Then they do it to me. I'm like, hey, what the fuck? No. I don't personally like the violence. I'm good. I don't need to be hit.
Yeah,
But they seem
it's
to love it.
weird. But then of course Grimlock's going to come with his sheet holes again. Uh, but but anyway, the details don't really matter. I put this up here because yet another Me Too. And of course, it
Uh-huh.
ties into our earlier conversation, right? Why are men walking away? Why
Yeah,
is
we wanted it.
MGTOW and men's right associations or whatever they are, why do they exist, right? Because for me, from my generation, that's cringe as shit, dude, right?
Yeah,
But I get it. I get it. I mean, here's a dude who's somewhat famous in his little niche, become a
got
little
some
more
money.
famous because he's got what Netflix or whatever his series is going on, and he's getting Me Too'd is what's happening to him. Not only from 2 years waiting for a report, which is too long in my opinion, but 21 years, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
no,
outrageous.
that's
Look, I
outrageous.
understand that on actual cases of rape and sexual assault, there shouldn't be a statute of limitations. I agree with that. But there also should be a statute of common fucking sense.
Yeah.
21 years and you didn't say peep one. You had nobody to tell that hey Neil Gaiman raped the famous world famous author Neil Gaiman raped me or
Well,
sexually assaulted me. What?
right. Now, keep in mind, this popped off because the first girl, she just recently pressed charges with the New Zealand police. Just
Yep.
recently, and Neil offered to be of assistance. They said, "Fuck off, Neil." And he's like, "All right, um,
Bye.
uh,
I
all
guess.
right, fine,"
See
because
you.
he's not in New Zealand now, but he was. But now she just recently came up 2 years later. It's not like this has been an ongoing thing. She just came out 2 years later here recently, and then the other one magically appeared. Of course, just like with Bill Cosby. And it's interesting to me how many people joke about Bill Cosby because when that whole thing was going on, I was like, that's sus as shit. And of course, now we know it was sus as shit. They were just trying to get him, right? Because Bill pissed
Pretty much. Yeah.
somebody off. He pissed Oprah off or somebody. He pissed the wrong person off, and they went after him because what Bill Cosby did had nothing to do with him roofing people. He did not roofie anyone. He had consensual sex with people that he was also consensually doing drugs with.
That's right.
How many? If that's illegal, Jesus, how many people in the world are going to jail for that? Then I certainly would be, because I've absolutely been drunk or on
Well,
some
that's
manner of
part of it too.
substance and having with a girl and having sex with her. I've certainly done that.
They literally have changed the law. They did this about 20 years ago, actually. They changed the laws in this country to where, under FBI and most federal agencies' definition, men are incapable of being raped by a female.
Yeah, which is
Um,
ridiculous.
but if the female is intoxicated, the man can be found guilty of rape even if he is. Now, most judges will throw that out immediately because that's obviously ridiculous. But all it takes is one or two to be like, nah, no, you're going, you're done. And that's it. You're done.
Yeah,
That's how outrageous the laws have gotten when it comes to sexual consent.
right.
They
And
are ridiculous because we're
it
trying to
is
protect women from something that is an anomaly. The idea
right.
that there's a bunch of rapists running around America, raping everything that moves, and this idea that women, 1 in 3 women have been assaulted, bullshit. That's just not
That's
true.
not true.
It's a
It's not
lie.
even one in a hundred
This isn't the
thousand.
Congo. Like,
It's
get
I
out of
think it's
here.
like 1 in 680 something thousand is a report I saw.
Yeah,
It's
is the real
outrageous that
number.
frickin' Obama, that guy, what a
Yeah.
disaster. But anyway, I mean, I put this here because one, of course, we like comic books and Neil Gaiman, right? The Sandman, whether you like him or not, it is a really good series. But nevertheless, it just shows you why young men are walking away because they're they can get accused of anything at any time, right? The whole Me Too thing. Why aren't men coming up and asking us to date anymore? Because you told them to fuck off.
Yep.
I mean, that's why.
They don't. They don't want to be treated like they're a rapist just for having, you know, an inkling, right? They think you're attractive, and they've informed you of this. Maybe they didn't do it in a manner that was charming, but they still did it. So you treat them because they're an unattractive man like a rapist. See, if they're hot, they can get away with anything. But you treat them like they're an unattractive man or like a rapist, which is largely the same thing. because you've been conditioned
Right.
largely through social media and the schooling system and the television
And that's
that
why
these
this is
there's
happening.
thousands and thousands and millions and billions and trillions and gajillions of men out here just waiting for a chance to rake you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just looking.
yeah.
They're just salivating like a wolf,
Yep.
licking their chops, waiting for their moment. And that's just obscene.
It's
The
obscene.
the
It
fact
is. Yeah.
that there's so many women who are terrified of men. I mean, not like I don't go around men I don't know, right? Precaution. No, that's one thing. Terrified of
Yeah.
men.
Yeah. No,
Terrified.
there was an incident that happened. I forget where it was, but just last week or a couple weeks ago. This they're on a date in a restaurant, and the girl felt nervous about the guy, and she called the
Yep.
cops on him. Now in the restaurant, right? It's not like he's trying to force his way in her house or they're in a car and it's nothing like that.
Or
She's
even
on
on
the
the
date
street.
in the restaurant. She
They're
feels
they're
uncomfortable
in
and
a
calls the cops.
private place. I would assume with many other people.
Yeah.
And she got the ick, that word, there's the word of the day apparently, and called the police on this poor gentleman.
Right. And
Uh,
the cops, of course, dealt with it sensibly, luckily. But
yeah,
the guy, yeah, they asked him, and he's like, "Well, all she had to do was say she didn't like what was going on, or the date was done. That's all she had to say." Because she didn't
yeah,
say that. She just excused herself, went to the bathroom, and called the cops. On literally because she felt uncomfortable, not because he said or did anything. She just felt uncomfortable because she's terrified of
that's right.
men, but she's putting herself out there. That's outrageous. This is another example. And keep in mind that Alan is making the point here in the chat. Neil Gaiman is an absolute dyed in the wool wokey. This is a
That's right.
progressive, a full hardcore one. This is Bill Maher, right? This guy, right?
Right.
Although Bill Maher is starting to see the light, I've noticed. But
I'd
nevertheless,
say he's even further than Bill. I think Bill's mostly lip service, to be honest.
maybe.
Uh,
But this guy is full on progressive, Jew, full on.
yep,
And they're the ones that create it. You wonder why everyone hates frickin' Israel. There you are.
there it is.
But the thing with it is, if even he can get gut, right?
Yeah,
Even he can get
that's right.
gut.
That's
So
correct.
this is what is forcing dudes to just say, nope,
We're out. See ya.
we're out.
Like it happened. Especially the more money you have, the more susceptible you are to it. Let's say at some point in your life, apparently even 21 years ago, you had a consensual interaction. Maybe
Right.
not even fully sexual, just a consensual, interaction with a female. They can twist this into the most. I mean, it depends on how you say it. It
Well,
depends
look
on
what
your
they did with
inflection.
that Supreme Court judge. Complete
Yes, they
bullshit.
can twist it into the most vile, evil,
Oh, they
heinous
do.
act with nothing there. There's nothing there. No evidence, no proof, nothing. Not a shred. But because our society has been conditioned to trust women when they cry, people talk a lot about what happened to the West. When did the downfall start? It started around the late 60s, early 70s when we started listening to crying women. The rule used to be, I didn't make this up. It's not an original me like a lot of the things I say on here. This is an old rule. Never trust a smiling man and a crying woman.
Hmm.
Never. Because those are the two types of ways that those individual genders manipulate. Women
Yeah.
do it with tears, men do it with happiness.
Yeah.
It's something that's called in divorces where there's a manipulative narcissistic man, an abuser, a genuine one. It's called love bombing. And one of the things men do it very often, women do it too, but men do it the way they do it is they're just happy. They're just happy around you all the time. They're smiling, they're upbeat, they're cheerful. It's all fake. It's all just to get you to be also that way so they can manipulate you. Because when you're happy, you put your guard down, right? That's the idea.
Right.
So
Well,
that's what narcissists,
it
psychopaths,
is.
and
And
sociopaths do.
have you ever seen that Gavin Newsom guy, the California governor?
I have. Yeah,
That guy is such a creep. He
correct.
is that is the freaking car salesman. Every time you see him, I
Yes.
can't even. He makes me squirm. He's so freaking cringy, dude. That guy
Let me
is
explain.
is the smiling danger that
You want
the
to know
nerds
how
talk about.
powerful a smile is for especially a salesman, which most salespeople are men? which is strange because you think it'd be women, but most of them are men. Uh, they will teach you. I know this because I used to sell cars. They teach you to smile when you're talking on the phone. That person can't see you. They probably never will because most of the time they never
It
show up.
changes your
But
tone.
it changes your tone. It changes your inflection. People can literally, without knowing it, subconsciously hear that you're smiling, and that's how you manipulate.
Yeah,
A smile is just as manipulative as a tear. Women, on the other hand, their tears are far more powerful than their smiles are.
they are. That is
Because
true.
men want to see a woman smile. There's nothing, there's women, you want to be sexy, you want to be genuinely appealing, just smile more. That's it. That's the trick.
Yeah,
Because
but
most of
that
you are probably decent enough looking that you put some makeup on, you put on something nice, and men
but
will give
that
you attention.
but that's sexist though to tell a girl to
Yeah,
smile.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my point is, this was the rule. It was a hard and fast rule to anybody with sense. Never trust a smiling man or a crying woman for the exact same reason.
Right.
Because
Well,
there's a very high chance they're trying to manipulate.
I saw a woman the other day trying to manipulate the internet.
Yep.
And she was going on about that she was trying to quote the Bible on you, you see.
Oh boy.
And she said, "Do you know in the Bible God says that women are a gift to man?" And of course, she was so proud of that. And I was like, "Well, ma'am, you probably haven't read much of the Bible because it also says it is better for a man to live in the wasteland and be with a nagging and badgering wife."
That's
And
correct.
excuse me, and nagging and quarrel no, nagging and noisy
Quarrelsome.
wife, quarrelsome
Yep.
and noisy
Noisy,
wife.
quarrelsome. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, okay. The
I like
Bible.
the one that I believe it's in the Psalms or the Proverbs. I do believe it might be Solomon, but it's somewhere in that chain of books where it says it's a contentious wife is like a drip, a distant drip that never goes away. Basically, or something to that effect. Basically, what they're saying when you're trying to sleep. Basically, what they're talking about is how we have faucets. Sometimes they drip.
Yeah,
Well, back in the day, they'd have roof things because they didn't have gutters like we do now, or at least not to the same level. So they would drip when it rained. So if you're trying to sleep, all you can hear is this freaking drip,
yeah.
just this endless drip.
Chinese water
That's what a
torture.
contentious wife.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what a contentious wife is like. Just an endless, unstopping drip when you're trying to sleep. And that's also in the Bible somewhere. I can't remember where, but it's in there.
right. Well,
Uh,
now do keep in mind though, just a little caveat there. A little bit of asterisk.
yeah,
The Bible is so contradictory of itself because it is designed for a priest to be able to answer any question you have.
correct.
You see,
It
okay,
is the answer book,
it is the answer book.
not the
But
question book.
But
The answer
anyway,
book.
this whole little bit was for me to just kind of demonstrate, the situation we're in, not only economically, globally, but also the just the absolute dysfunction of men and women, right? And
Yep,
it's way out of control, and things are going to reset. They always do.
it's
But
coming.
yeah, but
I
we're going
have
to
a lot
lose
of
a
hope.
generation. We're going to lose a generation, though, or maybe
Well, we
two.
did. That was my generation
Yeah,
lost one for sure, no doubt. Gen X a little bit, but they were mostly stable. I actually think Gen Z is going to be the corrective generation, and
probably.
then the
Yeah, yeah,
generations
probably.
after them will be more normal.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Gen Z is going to be the anomaly generation. They're going to be
yeah.
because corrective generations is what you're talking about. They come about every so often when things get way out of hand. And once they do, they're anomaly generations. The greatest generation is a good example. The uh, founding generation, the revolutionary generation, is another one. These were a lot of these men were very odd even in their day. They were successful, but they weren't your normal everyday guy in a lot of ways. And they had a generation very similar around them. Obviously, not all of them, but enough of them. You don't need all. That's the other thing we have in our country, especially. We have this idea that you need a majority or you need a large minority of. You don't even need a hyper minority is enough if those people are intelligent, capable, competent, and dedicated.
Yeah, and
All you
especially
need to
adding
affect
SNS
change.
and stuff like that. Yeah, it can go both ways.
Yep.
That's true.
All
Cool.
you need to affect change, all you need it is a tireless minority that will not quit.
Yeah.
That's it.
No.
That's it.
Alan makes a good point here. Newsom is oiler there in the Exxon Valdez and just as disastrous. Yeah, he's so cringy, dude. That guy is slime. That is a slime ball, and I don't know much about him.
Correct.
I hear he's not a good governor, but just because first time I never saw him speak before, right? And I saw him speak the other day, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, whoa!"
That is a serpent right
It
there.
is,
That
yeah.
is.
But anyway, let's move away from this arc and into something a little bit more entertaining. And of course, what can be more entertaining than machete?
Watch. Danny Trejo gets his clock clean in 4th of July fight.
Now, Danny's 80, which wow, wow,
Yeah.
right? I didn't realize that, and keep in mind, Danny is an actor. He's always been that
Correct.
way. He plays the cool tough guy. I doubt maybe he is a little bit, but I haven't really heard much nonsense from Danny. He's just the kind of normal B actor Hollywood guy that we kind of love, right? I mean, that's
Right.
about it with Danny Trejo. But he's 80, dude. I didn't know he was that old. But you want to see some elderly abuse here? Now, supposedly, uh, uh, some dude threw a water blown balloon at Danny as he's getting out of his car with his family, and Danny went to go deal with it. So maybe he is a bit of a tough guy. 80 years old, going to getting a punch up. Interesting. Let's look at it. You ready?
Let's see it. Oh boy, here we go.
All right. So it's 4th of July. Someone threw a water balloon. Now, look what Danny does here. Now, hold on a second. Danny's hobbling over there. Boom. He hits the guy first. And then he gets laid out. Some guy comes, hey, what are you fucking with Danny Trejo? He gets laid out. Then a whole bunch of other guys come in and try to deal with this guy. And it looks like he's laying them out as well. But now, so some badass. But all right, so someone threw there's a parade going on, I guess, and Danny's in a vehicle because he's Danny Trejo. Someone threw a water balloon. He saw who it was, and he went through a punch. So who's wrong here? Now
um,
you gotta give a little bit of credit to this guy. He's a scrapper, obviously.
he's been in some fights. He's
Yeah.
been in some fights.
So is Danny.
Well, yeah, but he's also 80. Well, let's see. I guess did the water balloon hit him, or did it just hit near him, hit his car? Why did he get so offended at a water balloon? Is my question.
Because his kids are with him or his grandchildren are with him. There's kids with
Okay.
him, I think is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't get struck by the balloon, then Danny's in the wrong. Shouldn't be punching people because they threw a balloon near you. If he or one of his children got hit, well, then, hey, some people don't like to get water balloon, bruh. Don't do it.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Look at Danny, 80 years old, just swinging out the gate.
Hey, he ducked that
And
first
even
one. He
he
ducked
did,
that first
but
one.
he's not even talking about it, right? He just got
You know what's a shame is this guy clearly isn't that good of a fighter, but these other people, so many people think they're bad.
Yeah.
They have no idea how vulnerable they are. No idea. I bet if Danny was younger, this would have went a whole different way. But he is 80.
I just
Come on,
love the
80 years
fact
old.
that he's like, not screw you, and he just throws.
Nope, not
Instant,
today.
no conversation, just nope, throws.
That's the old school mentality right
It
there.
is. It
Swing
is.
first. Very Cobra Kai of him right there.
Yeah. 80 years old, hobbling too.
Yep.
Little dude, but he is also 80, so he shrunk up. But I mean, I don't know. There's something about it I just love. I mean, he got laid out, but he's back up. He's okay. But he just went there, just instant throw, no conversation, no. I mean, look, he just gets out. The driver there seems like he's trying to stop him. He's like, nope. I don't even know if there's any words coming out of Danny right now. He just, boom,
Nope.
and
Bam.
he smoked him too. He smoked him too. Yeah. Anyway.
No, it is what it is. I've unfortunately been in both sides of that situation in my life. Yeah. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Danny, honestly, at 80 years old, though, as much as I appreciate the moxie of it, really shouldn't be getting involved in fistfights. Come on, what are you doing? Like one wrong move and your ankle breaks, your hip breaks, your back breaks, and that's the end of your life.
Though. We can see this is wider here, and he's got a tree now. Look at that. I didn't see that before. He picked up a tree. He's like, ah, yeah, it's on, bitch.
Uh,
And then this
uh,
fat lady here is, or maybe it's a dude, but it looks like a lady body, is trying to hold him back. But Danny's like, nah, man, let me go. I'm gonna deal with this whippersnapper. I love it. 80 years old and just throwing smokers too. This one's going longer, like
yep.
calming him down. It's all right, Danny. All right, go back to your car. He's good though. He's good though. I just love it though. Once again, one more time, one more time. No conversation, just mm-mm. He did duck the first one, and I didn't even think he got hit. I think he just got pushed. This guy got hit. Got a tree. Got to beat him with a tree. Anyway, I just thought that was cute.
Oh, Danny.
Oh, Danny. 80
Oh,
years old. Can you believe
Danny.
he's that old?
Well, yeah. He's been making movies since I've been alive, bro. Of course I can believe that. Yeah, people get older, Chester. It does happen. He didn't start his career until he was older either, because I don't think well, he started it, but he didn't really get anywhere.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes, especially to men. They have to get a little seasoning on their face before
Sometimes.
people will,
Yeah. Well, it's
yeah,
like
take them
Tiger
seriously.
Chan was from my generation. And
Yeah,
he's a kung fu fighter in movies, and he's famous. He shows up in a bunch of stuff. But it is nice to see that Danny is a little bit of a badass, actually,
he's
in real
got that
life.
in him.
He
Got that
does. He
dog in
got
him.
that in him.
I don't hate it.
No,
Because you don't know, right? We don't really know what started it exactly. All we know is if somebody threw a water balloon. Did it hit one of
supposedly.
somebody?
Yeah, we didn't see
Yeah,
that.
hit him. Did it hit somebody? We don't have evidence one way or the other. So it would really depend on where this mystical balloon went, right?
Right.
Um, if it did strike him or somebody he was with, or even just someone around him, then I think it's justified. Don't throw water balloons at people. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, if it didn't, then I think it's not. You shouldn't get violent
And
because somebody threw a balloon near you,
and,
right? Like,
that's true. But even though the guy that he hit and swung back, that doesn't look like the type of dude that's going to make a big deal out of it,
no,
right? I
no.
mean, it is what it is, right? But
Yeah. I did tell you the
oh,
my water story. What am I going to call it? My water. I don't want to say sports because that has a different connotation. My watery recreation story when I was a young man.
mhm.
So see, me and
I
my
got some
cousin,
of those.
we were little shits,
Mhm.
and we had just went to because back in the day, you go get those really cheap little water pistols. Yeah. So we got a couple of those, and we were going home, and by home I mean to my uncle's house from the store with my father and my uncle. My father, 6'2", 300 pounds. My uncle, 5'11", about 280 pounds. Big boys, right? And these were these old school men, right? They weren't just you hear 300 pounds, most people think a big fat ass because that's what most people are today. No, 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 no. This was all just beer belly fat, like because they drank a lot back in the day. They were just big men. That's just how they were. Just those large kind of man. So we're driving along. Me and my cousin got these two water pistols, and we have our windows down because no AC back in the day. And we start shooting out the windows and shooting other people's cars as we drive by. And one of the times, the guy had his window down. We got him right in the face driving. Which, yeah, that's a dick move. I'll admit it. So this guy got all kinds of pissed, and we were almost to my uncle's house. He decides to follow us.
Yeah.
And you could tell, we could see him. My cousin and I could see him like, oh shit, oh man, oh no, this could be a problem. Because this guy was red hot mad. You could see it on his face. Pull into my uncle's house. He gets out of his car all hot. Before he says a word, my dad gets out of the driver's seat. My uncle gets out of the other seat. The car lifts about 7 inches off the ground. And he just looked at him and went, not today. He got back in his car and drove away.
Right. Yeah.
He
Although
said, "No, it ain't worth it. It
I
ain't
would have
worth it."
gotten your shit if I were your dad, though. I would have been in your shit.
Oh, well, he wasn't happy. We didn't keep those water guns. Let's just put it
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. My only comment on I need the appropriate picture here. Hold on a second. I gotta fix this. Not that one. We need the good one. Where's the good one? Here it is. All right, say. Oh, here it is. Gentlemen, a little bit of a public service warning here. Water sex is not all it's cracked up to be.
It's not.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
It's really weird how you're in liquid, but
Yeah,
lubrication goes away.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
It's not good. Don't do it,
It's
gentlemen.
not a good time.
Don't do it.
Don't do hot tubs. Aren't
Yeah,
no,
don't listen to
no,
Hollywood. They're lying to you
no.
and they're
They're
laughing. They're
lying.
laughing at you. Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen with the hot tub. You're going to start in the hot tub and be like, oh, this sucks. You're just going to end up outside the hot tub anyway. So
It's
just
right.
start outside the hot
Yeah,
tub.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
start
yeah,
outside the
yeah.
hot tub.
Just stay out of the
Yeah,
water. It isn't good. It isn't
yeah.
good. That is a good shot, though. That is a
Eh,
good shot.
I,
But
I'm not saying she's not sexy. She's sexy as hell. It's just,
yeah,
I
well,
don't think, like,
she's much more girl next door than they're making her out to be,
I think
and I have
what
no
has
problem with
happened
that.
is she's smarter than people are giving her credit for because her daddy was a lawyer, so she's probably got a really high IQ, and she realized there was a gap in the market
That's
for
why she looks like a rich girl. Daddy's rich.
for
Daddy's got money.
truly famous for a famous girl to be very, very, very comfortable with being overtly sexual because we haven't had that in a while, not at this level, especially not with the assets that Miss Sweeney has. So that worked, right? It's worked for her. So why not
Yeah,
keep doing it? Made her lots of money. And she's not actually, I mean, at least I don't know, she's
I
not
don't know.
actually being a
I don't
full
think
blown
she's made
whore.
a lot of money yet. I mean,
Oh,
she's
no,
only
she
been in
has.
a
Yeah.
movie.
No, 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 no. She has. Because you have to understand, she has a massive social media following. If you
Oh, I
have
see.
over 1 million followers anywhere on any social media platform, you should be a multimillionaire. And if you're not, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, no,
Period.
that's fair. That's fair.
So she has a big social media following. She's doing, and like I said, her daddy was a big time lawyer, so she was already doing all right. She was already doing okay. Her mom had a fake career of some home consultant or something. You know that fake stuff that rich women get.
Well, you know a lot about
She had
her.
one of them. I just looked it up. That's because you
Oh, okay.
asked if she had who she was. Like, did she have money? When you said that, I
She
looked at
looks
because
like
I for
money.
some
Look
reason
at it.
I was thinking that she was like famous, the daughter of somebody famous, but apparently not. So I just looked up Sydney Sweeney parents, and that's why I know.
All right.
That's the only reason I know.
That is a good shot, though. That is a good shot.
Not
Anyway,
bad.
let's. I got a couple other little things here just for fun. Go ahead.
Watch F1 trailer starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Is that the guy who does? No, that's not him. His name's Chad Stulz, something like that. A lot of skis coming out in Hollywood lately. What's going on with the skis?
I don't know what Jews in Hollywood. What are you talking about?
Well,
Um.
yeah, but they don't usually have ski on there. They're usually Berg or
Oh, this is the dude
Silver.
that did Top Gun Maverick, dude.
Yeah, yeah, I knew the name. This could be good. This could be really good. And
Oh,
you notice Hollywood has been in the last couple years, especially, really leaning on guys like Brad Pitt and other guys like him.
they make
They've had a
money.
little bit of a resurgence, and that's why
They
they
make
still
money.
make money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this is
so
he's playing a retired driver that comes back into F1. Let's watch the trailer, shall we?
let's do it.
Okay. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren
Oh,
all have a speed on the straights. Our shot is
Apple,
battling
huh?
in the turns. We need to build our.
How am I supposed to make that safe?
Who said anything about safe?
Hmm. All right, I do like me some F1. It looks authentic already. Okay,
Oh boy,
I do
wait a
believe
minute.
that's a hit.
We'll let it go. But there's an awful lot of melanin in this F1 movie already. That's interesting.
Well, I can't play that. But there is a black guy in F1. Named
Yeah,
Lewis
but is there a
Hamilton.
bunch of black crewmen and stuff like? I mean, there might be. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Not
I've
really.
never seen
No,
it.
mostly they're
Yeah.
Italians and they swear a lot.
Yes. So basically, not white people. It's fine.
Yeah, dude.
Italians will forever be besmirched by the Celts for their whiteness. I think that's a forever thing that Italians need to just accept. That will forever be the joke. This
Lady
looks
on
good
the
though.
on the pit crew.
Oh boy, yeah, that's silliness.
But it
There's a
looks good
reason
though.
there's not ladies on pit crews, and it's because they can't. That's it. That's the reason.
Yeah,
It's not
you
sexism.
do need to be quick and strong to do that job.
At that
Um,
level, these pit crews are athletes. They're super athletic people.
yeah, and the
They're
pit
going
crew
fast.
are not like the managers, right?
No.
That's not what they are. But I don't know. I just, I do like Brad. He's usually pretty entertaining, and I do like F1, so it could be fun. But you're right. It's kind of the Lewis Hamilton esque character versus the young versus the old, black versus white, lady in the pit crew. But it could be fun.
It'll probably be fine. He's a good director. Top Gun Maverick, since the pandemic, is tied for the best film that's come out, in my opinion, especially at that level, like the big budget movie. I would say the big budget movie. It's probably the best since 20.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even think that's debatable. It's
This
just phenomenal. I've watched it a couple times since. It's just phenomenal. It just is.
it's also got Jerry Bruckheimer and Chad Oman.
God,
Um,
how old
uh,
is Bruckheimer? He's got to be in his 80s, right?
well, he's
He's
producing,
got
so
to be.
yeah. But no, I just thought maybe it's interesting. We never know these days. But it came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, all right.
And can we admit now? Can somebody please? Can we all admit, as a culture, as a society, as a civilization, if we even are still, that music since about 1995 was a mistake?
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Because even this movie, did you hear it? That wasn't anything made in the last 40 years.
No, it's
That
interesting
song.
how it always leans on the past, isn't it? And Grimlock says Lewis Hamilton is a monster in F1. Now, to be fair, Lewis is a really good driver. He is, but
Yes,
he's also a woke
I've
little
heard of him.
princess. He's a frickin' prima
Yes.
donna, and he bitches about the white black thing all the time, which is ridiculous because no one gave a shit that he was black. No one cared.
Just win, dude. If you
Yeah,
win, no one
and which he
cares.
which he
That's it.
does. And
Yeah.
but he is a little whining bitch. He is, and it's unfortunate
That
because he didn't start that way.
that's the answer to every problem that you have in sports. All of them. Just win more.
Yeah, and
That's it.
he's a little rich kid
That's it.
anyway. So I mean, what do you
Like
want?
we can go back. We can go back to the peak of the NBA with old Michael at the top. He had all sorts of problems personally. He wasn't necessarily always the best role model in that regard, but nobody cared. You
Schumacher?
know why? You know why? Because he won.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
Schumacher.
Just
Yeah, he was
yeah,
7
just win
titles,
more.
dude. But Schumacher also changed the game though, in many ways.
Just
Um,
win.
he was a winner, but he also innovated. But the thing is, why is it always these upper middle class mulatto kids that are causing all the noise? Have you noticed that? I mean, the white Karens, there's definitely supporting it, but it's always these upper middle class mulatto kids that are just the
I have a
noisiest.
couple theories, and I think they're probably pretty close to the truth. Yeah, it's an identity crisis, probably.
It is.
Because like we were talking about, I think last week or the week before, unfortunately for a lot of those children, they don't know where they fit simply because they're racially ambiguous,
Well, why
and
don't
it's
you
hard.
just dance with the one that brung you? How about that?
You could, you would think, but no. It depends on what your culture rewards too, right? If it rewards blackness and despises whiteness, whatever that means in the current zeitgeist, then you're going to go with the thing that's more rewarding. Most people aren't that much of masochists, right? Um, But my point is, I think that's really all it is. Is it's an identity crisis played out through anxiety, insecurity, and everything else. So they lash out at the easiest target in the world, white people, because white people will just take it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it is true. But whatever, it is a thing. But that doesn't mean this movie won't be fun.
No,
And
I think it'll be fine.
yeah, I think it looks good. The last little bit
The
I think
best news,
is joyous for the Thunderos. So
the best news I've heard in a very long time. Thank you, Mr. Cena. See, I knew John Cena secretly loved me. He gave me a 4th of July gift. That's what he did. It was an Independence Day gift. He officially announces he is going to do one last retirement run all of next year, and then he's done. He said he'll still be around every now and then, but he's not gonna do anything physical ever again. We'll see if he keeps to that.
well,
But
it's the
that's what he's saying.
WWE.
Yeah.
But we freaking had Ric Flair in the ring at 80 something. So um,
Well,
uh,
unfortunately, the only guy who had ever kept to it for almost a decade was Shawn Michaels. He said he was out, and he was out, and then Saudi Arabia offered him $10 million. He's like, hell, That's the one. That's the move.
I'll take
That's how you
that,
get me
right?
back in.
But to be fair, John's getting a little long in the tooth.
He's
Um,
47.
and the hair is not helping him. He doesn't want to go bald for some reason. And he's making money in Hollywood, dude.
He is. He doesn't need the wrestling anymore,
No.
which is fine. He doesn't really. He could never work again a day in his life. He'd be fine. He doesn't have any kids. He doesn't have a bunch of ex-wives. He's actually been really smart with his money. He's a car guy.
Yeah,
I bet
he
if
needs to
John
practice his
Cena and I,
Chinese.
if John, well, if John, he does. In fairness to him, he's worked really hard on the Chinese. He might not be great at it, but he's put in the effort at least. Uh, I bet if John Cena and I hung out, we'd get along just fine.
Yeah,
But I would tell him right to his face I don't like him. And I think
yeah,
he's the type of guy who'd be fine with that. Because he's a car guy. He's that kind of dude, right? And I don't like him on a very personal level. It's not just about wrestling for me. So this is very happy news for me.
yeah,
He hasn't really been around much in a very long time, which is also happy news for me. But I will put up with hearing for a year about how he's the greatest of all time. I don't care as long as he goes away at the end. As long as there's light at the end of the tunnel and I get to watch this man go away, I will be a very, very happy man. See,
there you
people
go.
don't understand. I understand the haters because I am one.
Yeah, yeah,
And when it comes to John Cena, it's forever hate. It's not going to get better, especially every time they call him the greatest of all time. In fairness to him, he rejects that label. He says that's just not correct because it isn't. But everybody else keeps putting it on him. Even Triple H was putting it on him the other day at the press conference. Like, come on, you know better than that. But that's the label they keep putting on him, and I will just be glad to watch him. I don't care if he beats Flair's record. Let him have it. I don't care. Just go away.
yeah.
You know, beat up, get 3 more, get 15 more championships. I don't care, John. Go away and stay gone,
Yes,
please.
yes.
That's all I want.
Are you
That's it.
confusing him with Bubba Wallace? No, I'm not, Grimlock. Lewis Hamilton is a whiny little shit. I've been watching F1 for decades. He's a whiny little shit. He's a good driver, though. Um,
Again, you can be a whiny little shit if you win. That's the rule.
well,
That was
um,
Kaepernick's problem. He wasn't
yeah,
a winner.
it wasn't a winner. Lewis is, though. But just to revisit the Chinese thing, just to kind of quote John here, "Whoa, sure, Li Bao Bao." And actually, I that was, "Whoa, sure, Li Bao Bao." It's not even close,
Yep.
right? It's bad.
Yep.
Anyway,
He
yeah.
actually, last I knew, I don't know if he still does because he got married like last year, 2 years ago. John did. He used to live part of the year in China. He was all in. He was super committed because the Chinese would give him money to make movies. Um, so he was super committed, and also because he's not actually the guy, even though they pretend like he is. He could be in China and no one cared because he's not
Well,
actually
he's
the
not
guy.
there. He's not there now. I
Yeah.
guarantee
Ow.
you. Yeah.
Stop it. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So my point
China's.
is,
You don't want to be in China right now.
no, my point is, I'm very happy to hear this news. The world will be a better place when John Cena stops being this fake, whatever the hell you want to call it, character, and just be John, and not John Cena, the wrestler, the gimmick. And he even said that. He said after this year, after that next year, he's going to retire this uniform. He called it. And if you see
Well,
him
it
again,
is.
he'll probably be in like a suit and tie or whatever. He'll be, in more proper attire.
Right.
Um, And somebody asked him if he was going to drop another album. He's like, no, I'm 47 years old. I think I'm done with that.
Right. And
All
to
right,
be
John,
fair,
that's
whether
pretty
you
good.
like him or not, and all the politics and stuff, the dude has put his body through hell for the
Yes.
industry.
Yep.
But I don't really have an issue one way or the other with John Cena. But I never got the whole Wigger thing. But whatever. Um, it's
Well, you
his.
notice he dropped that when they decided to make him the guy. He got rid of that whole, pretty much that entire shtick, because it doesn't really work mainstream, right? He went more main. He's basically, CM Punk says it best. CM Punk's like Batman. He's like Superman, right? It's very straight laced, very Boy Scout type of guy. The only
Right.
problem is one of the reasons when it comes to John Cena as a professional, as a pro wrestler, one of the problems I had with John is he was a bully. but because we were all supposed to cheer for him, nobody ever called him on it.
Yeah, he's like
Well, he
Hulk. A lot of these
just a
top tier
bully.
guys do that. That's
No,
true.
I don't mean like behind the scenes. There was some of that too. I mean in front of the scenes. You're supposed to be the good guy, yet all you ever do is just rag on the other guy. Right? We got this from The Rock. The difference with The Rock is he was actually funny and charismatic when he was doing it. And even that got tired. The crowd turned on him eventually too. Like there's a psychology here that John Cena largely I don't think ever understood and still probably doesn't.
Maybe
You
not.
can't be seen as the aggressor as the face. You have to be responding to the things that are
Right.
happening.
Yeah. That is old school. But
Yeah.
on the other side of the coin, he has done a lot of charity stuff. He's one of the more popular Make a Wish guys, and he seems quite committed to that. So there are good things about John Cena.
The thing I'll say about that is he loses all respect for me. That's why I hate him, actually. Because up until very recently, there was always a camera present when he was doing it.
Of course.
And I don't like that. I don't like, no, not of course. Nobody else does that.
Yeah.
All the other guys do a bunch of Make a Wish and a bunch of charity and stuff too. And by and large, you don't hear about it. When Hogan was at his hottest in WCW as Hollywood Hogan, he was still doing all that stuff. You just didn't hear about it because it wasn't
Right.
about him or his
You know,
fame.
one of the coolest little charity things like that I heard about. It's not Make a Wish, but it's similar. In Germany, this is years ago. There was a little 6-year-old kid that had terminal cancer, dying, and he loved motorcycles. It was his biggest thing, right? And
Yep.
somehow some biker heard, because his wish was is he wanted to see bikers because he couldn't go out and play, he couldn't do it. He's dying, right? He wanted to
Right.
see biker come by his house, that is so he could see the bikers and hear them roar, the motorcycles roar. And his mom, put out went on social media and tried to get some attention. She was hoping maybe we'd get a handful of bikes come by and it would be it'd be a good thing for him. Would you like to guess how many of German bikers showed up for this little kid?
Hundreds.
20,000.
I love bikers.
Dude, bikers are some of the best people, man.
They are. They are. They look mean. They're like dogs, Jester. The
Yeah.
ones who always look the scariest are usually the kindest.
A lot of them are
That's how
veterans,
bikers are.
you know.
Yeah. No,
You know,
no. The bikers around here. See, remember I was talking about how multicultural my area is, except my street. My street is pretty much just white American. Down about halfway down the street is the leader of one of the local bike. Wow, I just had a stroke. Apparently, I
you
can't
did.
speak tonight. Biker clubs. There we
Right.
go. There we go. And so every now and again, him and his boys will drive by, and for the most part, you never have a problem on this street, is what I'm saying, because people know where not to go, and sometimes that is where the bikers live. Sometimes that's where other people live. Whatever.
Hmm.
But my point is, these are the type of people. My uncle, my only living uncle, actually, now that I think about it, that's crazy. They're all dead. That's nuts. My only living uncle is a biker. He lives in San Antonio, Texas. He's a deeply Christian man, and he is the last I knew anyway. He was like the secretary or treasurer or whatever of his local club, but they're a Christian club.
Hmm.
So they go around and they do mission work and stuff in their community and da 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 as bikers. There's a lot of that too. See, because the culture itself, it has this bad rap, right? Because of the way they dress and stuff, and obviously all the criminality and the extremes. Uh, but most bikers and most biker clubs aren't anything like that. They're actually
No.
basically just fraternal
Yeah,
orders,
good
but they
people.
like bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just like bikes.
Another great example of bikers, other than Bikers for Trump, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
But no, another really, it was years ago now. I don't know how many. It wasn't that long ago, but it was Memorial Day, and from the War Memorial in Washington D.C., you could see it, but down the road from it, in the middle of the road, but and there's like a little like a curb area in the middle of the road, a divider, right? There was
yeah,
a Marine in full dress, right? And he had lost his brother in a battle in Afghanistan, I think. and of course many other brothers. And Memorial Day, he wanted to honor them, so he came down, stood in sight. It was like, I don't know, a mile, less than a mile, half a mile away. You could see the memorial in the front of him, and he stood there and he saluted for hours,
Right.
right? And a crowd gathered, and this is a striking thing. Americans love our military, right? Which is
Mm.
not normal around the world. Keep that in mind, right?
Yep.
Americans are weird that way. But a
Well,
bunch of
we're the new Rome, but go ahead.
Well, that's true. But a bunch of bikers were doing a Memorial Day thing in Washington, heard about it, and they all drove over. So you got all this huge crowd is gathered watching this Marine just salute for hours, and he's on a bum leg. He got shot in the leg, so he's in pain. And he's got that salute up for hours, right? Just holding it, and of course, just huge respect from everyone around watching this, right? And the bikers
Yep.
come driving up. Of course, everyone's like, bikers, what's going to happen? They got off their bikes. They all kind of circled around him. They surrounded him and they started giving him squirting water in his mouth so he could drink, putting a parasol over him, and standing around him, joining him in a salute. That is
Excellent.
pure screeching eagle shit right there.
Did you see, Chester, speaking of Screeching Eagle,
Mm.
remember on here I've said this before that most progressives, maybe not most, but a good number of them, a good contingent of them, are actually just conservatives who haven't figured out they're conservatives yet.
Mm.
The reason why I say that is because just recently, our boy, everybody's favorite man, Mr. Zuckerberg, trying to find it now, I can't find the post. There he is. Mr. Zuckerberg has had a turn. He's done a bit of a face turn when it comes to the way he presents himself. He got himself in really good shape.
He decided
He
to
went,
be Klingon, not Vulcan. What?
yeah. He basically he started fighting, and doing like MMA and stuff and
Sure.
sparring, and he's embraced Americana in a way that is interesting.
Yeah, I
So
saw
just
him
recently,
wakeboarding.
the
Yeah.
video
Yeah, yeah.
wakeboarding with the flag. Yeah,
It's pretty impressive,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
pretty American shit right
it
there. That
is
was
American
that
shit
was
right
about
there.
as American as you can get.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, it just goes to show, like, even if it's just superficial, I honestly think that a lot of these so-called progressives are actually conservative right-wingers. They just don't like X, Y, or Z that other conservative right-wingers like, and they end up, because to be a conservative person, a right-wing person, the number one trait is a high disgust response, meaning you just don't like things. Basically, you
Yeah.
don't like a lot of things more than other people. Well, I mean, is that a great description of progressives or not? Like, holy shit, all they ever do is bitch. That's all they do. They're just endless bitching. So, I think that's, for a lot of them, that's what they are. And once they find some way of bridging the gap, they slowly drift over and they don't even realize it. And I
Yeah.
think for him, it's been fitness. It's
It's
actually an
yeah.
interesting gateway for a lot of people to
It's
become more conservative.
right.
Is fitness.
It's called getting older.
Yeah,
And we don't
discipline.
hear much about it, but I imagine he's married with kids.
I don't know if he has any kids. I know he's married to an Asian lady,
Yeah,
Chinese
he
lady, I
probably
think.
does. Those kind of guys don't put their family in the limelight, which that tells you something. But it's like Elon Musk. What has he got? Like 9 kids?
I think 11.
Yeah, it's ridiculous number. He's definitely being the sultan. But yeah, no. When you get older, you tend to go more conservative because you have responsibilities now. But yeah, just going back to that bikers and that Marine though, that's one of those moments that it's hard not to well up, right? Just the reaction, just the action of the Marine himself, but then the bikers, just the pure love just pouring out of them for this guy. And I get it. We get it. We understand why. But those kind of things, and this is why Independence Day is different, right? When you go to a lot of places around the world, they all have their Independence Day. Keep in mind that, the American Constitution has been copied, not identically. They leave out some important things, interestingly enough, but has been copied by the revolutions all over the world, right? There's a lot of American-esque constitutions around the world right now, right? Um, but one thing that you never see is people being patriotic like this, and without being ordered to, like in North Korea or China, right?
Right.
And matter of fact, in a lot of countries, and I've had conversations with Japanese adults because they're like this as well. Nationalism is a bad thing to most people.
Yep.
I've actually written on the board and talking with large groups of adults here in Japan. And I write on the board patriotism, nationalism. And I ask, okay, what's the Japanese words for these? Because I am an English teacher. And of course, get the dictionaries out and I'll write them down on the board. And but I ask, what is actually the difference between the two? Right? And they see patriotism as being, it's kind of embarrassing and cringy, but it's okay. But nationalism is evil, right?
Yes.
This is how the world is these days. This is the
They've been
propaganda.
indoctrinated.
The
Yeah,
it is the brainwashing that has been gone worldwide. But America says, "Fuck you, hold my beer."
that's right.
Right? Scream
And
those Eagles, baby.
it's starting to change all over. Like, look at what just happened in France. They had to steal the election from the nationalists because they were winning,
Hmm.
and they couldn't have that. They're terrified. The globalists, the only thing they're actually afraid of is nationalism. Do you know why, Chester? You do know why. I'm being rhetorical question. The reason is because at its core, what nationalism actually is family.
Yeah.
Nation, the root word for it, is natio, which means family. That is what nationalism is. It is your extended family, is the idea. The idea that you can have a nation of totally disparate people with no connections is, well, dumb. That's not how that works. You can have a country that way, you can have an empire that way, and that's fine. But you can't actually have a nation that way. And that is one of the reasons why in America the way they got around that is they had a federation, a union, uh, that would allow them to be separate nations that unify for a common goal. That is what the states were supposed to be, and that's largely what the states still are in most places, is they're their own separate little nations, right? Especially like Texas, how proud people are to be Texan. It's kind of silly to most people except Texans. They love Texas. They're Texas nationalists, even if they won't call themselves that, because their nation is Texan, their country is America. Um, these sorts of things matter. The words matter, the inputs matter. So when people are against nationalism, the best way to reframe that is so you're against families. Now, of course, they'll say, "No, what do you? That's ridiculous." Well, that's all nationalism is you take the family unit, you centralize it, and then you say, how do I do what's best for these sorts of families, whatever it is? If it's Italians, if it's Americans, if it's Canadians, if it's British family or English families or whatever. How do I do what would be beneficial most for them first? You know the idea America first is a nationalist thing. Yes, because what we are really saying is we want to put our families before the families of other people. You see, lefties hate this because they don't believe in family. Communism straight out calls for the abolition of the nuclear family. Nope, they don't even hide it. They don't believe in family for, well, let's call it what it is, for the plebs. They don't believe that anybody else should have this structure because it's the only way to truly stop tyranny. You were talking about earlier freedom gardens, things like this. That's all downstream of family. The reason they are so anti-natal, which interesting, Nate again, the reason they're anti-natalists, the reason why they hate children, the reason why they don't actually want people to have children, they'll talk to their blue in their face about how they do and how they will support you when you do it. That's all bullshit, and everybody knows it, because if that was true, they'd have done it already. The reason is because at the end of the day, the only thing that stops a rootless, cosmopolitan evil like globalism is a rooted, local, familial union.
Yep. You need local.
That is why they hate it. You could even have communism in that scenario, a nationalist communist, if it was small scale. It could work. It probably would, in fact, especially if everybody was pulling their weight. Once it starts to scale, that it falls apart.
Mm.
But my point is, my overarching point, nationalism is nothing more than taking the let's protect my family, right? So me and my wife, say I had a bunch of kids, let's protect them. Let's do what's best for them. Everybody largely does this, or at least they believe they are, right? They're doing what's best for their family. What's best for them, expand it to my neighborhood. Then expand it out further from there. Because in theory, we're all part of a connected family of our nation, right? And up until very, very recently, except for in specific places, this was true everywhere. Pretty much everywhere was either, a mono-ethnic state or pretty damn close to it. So it was very easy to identify this way. So what the left does is they try to conflate racism with nationalism, because some
Yes.
nationalists are racists, and let's just call it what it is. But nationalism is not racism, and racism is not nationalism.
No.
Nationalism is about families. It's always been about families. It's why the left uses the language of family protection, of starting your family when you want to. They use family more than the right does, and it's absurd. That's our domain. We're the hierarchy people, you idiots. That starts at the family level.
Yes.
The first hierarchy every single human person will ever experience is family. All of them that's ever experienced a hierarchy in their life, they did it either by not having a family, unfortunately, or by having a family.
Oh yeah.
That is where it
Well,
begins,
keep
and
in
that is
mind,
where it ends.
many of the world leaders are childless, right?
Yes,
Um,
and that should
and
be illegal. And I'm childless. I'm telling
yeah,
you,
no,
I should
I
never be
agree.
in charge of a country. Ever. Ever.
Well,
Not
you,
once.
you
I shouldn't be a
notice
mayor. Nope.
you notice that I'm not but actuallying you.
I know. It's
Yeah.
the truth.
Well,
That is what
you
they're
didn't
afraid of.
pronounce it correctly.
What didn't I pronounce?
It's natio.
Oh, I said natio, didn't I? Yeah. No, you're right. It's natio, which like natal, da 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 da.
Yeah, it basically in general sense is coming from the natus or to be born, right?
Right.
Right.
Right. Which just basically just means family. This is where
It
you're born.
often used for race or
Yeah.
tribe. Yeah, no, it definitely gets used for that. Yeah.
But that's all it is at the end of the day, and it's shocking how pervasive the enemy's propaganda has been for the last 70 years or so, 80 years against the idea of nationalism as if it's some great evil. They've literally gone to the great lengths of blaming World War II on nationalism when it was globalism that started that war. It was the global hegemons that wanted that war, not the nationalists. And anybody who says otherwise is lying. Period. Why did everybody get involved in both world wars? Because they had international entanglements. That's why. If everybody would have just minded their own business, it would have been local skirmishes and been over. But everybody had to get involved. Everybody had to get involved because they had signed deals and treaties and power structures and empires. All of these things were internationalism or globalism. All globalism is
yeah.
All globalism is you take internationalism, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. International unions can be a good thing, and you twist it with communism. That's all it is. The Soviets called it international communism. That's what they called it.
And they were quite
They
successful with it for a while.
they just
Roger
rebranded
has kicked me out of the country, by the way.
Oh, you're out. Well, I mean,
I'm
you're
no
already
longer
out
an
of the
American.
country.
He says I'm not an American. Yeah.
You're already out of the country. Just
clearly, I'm not American at all. That's obvious.
Aren't all your children Americans? They were born in Hawaii, right?
Damn right, dude.
Oh.
I plan ahead, buddy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
He colonized the womb, but he did it in the right way.
Well, I was aiming for October 31st. I got October 4th and November 14th. Damn it, that's hard. That's hard.
You missed. You missed wide. That was a big miss.
Kinda.
October, so you were trying to have a child on Halloween, my anniversary. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yep. There were plans. There were plans.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did not come to fruition.
They did not.
Unfortunately.
Well, my son's due date was October 31st, and I was very excited about it. But then my a few days before my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia, and my wife got, a little upset. And
Yeah,
2 weeks later, they had to induce. So, damn
that would
cancer
do it.
ruined my
Do it
Halloween baby. Oh
every
well.
time with that cancer. Every time with
Yeah.
that shit.
Man, that shit is.
It never comes when you're ready. Like you're ready to go. No, no, no,
I'm
no.
ready.
It
I'm
shows
ready
up.
now. Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I told
anyway.
my wife. I
Yeah.
told my wife earlier because I was reading this horrible thing about this man who is divorcing his wife because she's been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Ooh, that's rough.
Uh, which happens a lot, unfortunately, both ways, men
Just
and women.
wait a
They
little
just
bit.
leave. Yeah, exactly. They just leave. Um, and I told my wife, said, we're going to do that. She said, what? I said, yeah, on paper. I'm going to, if you get cancer, I'm divorcing you. If I get cancer, you're divorcing me. That way, we just stick them with the bill. And then what are they going to do? What are they going to do about it? We're not married anymore. They can't come after you.
That's fair.
Because
Yeah.
the amount of money they charge for these treatments it's
Oh,
criminal.
dude,
There's no excuse.
I know.
I know you know. And that was what, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago?
Yeah.
Imagine now. It hasn't gotten cheaper. I can assure you
No.
of that.
Yeah. No. I hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's
Um,
outrageous.
it is outrageous. But it is what it is. That's life. But nevertheless, cool. We had some fun stuff, and we had just the results of the modern think, and how it's starting to come to roost, man. It's starting to come to roost.
Repeal the 20th century. I think that's a good starting point. We
Hey, I
we
was
gotta go back.
born in that.
I was too, but it was a mistake. We gotta we gotta go back.
It's true. The funniest thing, one of the funny things about feminism, which is at the root of all the evil here, really,
Yeah,
is you remember what was it? Something the Riveter. There was a girl, a poster, World War II,
yeah,
Josie the
yeah,
Riveter, something like that.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
Susie
what
the
you're talking
Riveter.
about.
Um, I always thought that was funny because women were so excited. Look, we're helping, and it's like, no shit.
They had this idea apparently that women never helped during wartime.
Well, yeah,
They
but
were the first.
it's also the entitlement of it. It's like we
Yeah,
need special posters, we need special imagery because we're helping. It's like Rosie the Riveter, thank you, Ellen. But it's like,
yeah.
fuck off. It's what you should be doing. Why do people constantly want validation for doing what you should be doing anyway?
Um, oh, that's a whole conversation, but I'll summarize very quickly. It's because they were raised in a culture that didn't make them feel valid when they were young, right, wrong, or indifferent. So now they need validation for every little thing. And it's only gotten worse since.
Yeah, no,
Most
it's
of
it's
this
uh,
is
it's
that.
off the charts.
Yeah,
The level of narcissism. I mean, it's across the board, but particularly young women,
yes.
narcissism just dripping with it. It's like, whoa, dude, back up. I mean, that we don't have shame anymore at all, dude. It's gone. It's gone.
It'll come back. And
Of
it
course,
because it always does. We've done this. I said this the other day to somebody on social media because they were kvetching about how hard life is and these problems are new and they're unique or whatever. That's just hubris and recency bias. Every problem we have today, our ancestors have dealt with or did deal with at some point.
of course.
Every single one. There is nothing new under the sun, no matter what you can talk
Yes,
about. Well, what about this? What about. Nope, they just had their own version of it.
Solomon.
It's sophistry.
Yeah,
Sophistry is the root of all evil in the world.
yeah,
And sophistry, which is interesting because Jesus himself said this, sophistry comes from greed. That's where it comes from.
yep.
And he said the love of money is the root of all evil. Maybe he knew what he was
He
talking
did.
about. I
He
don't know.
did.
But that's what it is, and that's what it's always been for thousands of since we've had record. Every single troublemaker has been a sophist. Everyone, without exception. All the
Yep.
way back to the founders of Western thought, from Aristotle to Plato to Socrates and that lot, they all dealt with the sophists. They didn't like them. They weren't friends. And they even killed one of them. So, or maybe two of them. But my
Probably
point
more.
is,
Yeah.
Yeah, my point is the sophists and sophistry has taken different forms all throughout human history, but it's the same thing. The new sophistry is not much different than the old, and it is not special.
Right.
As long as the Western ideal of truth before face, of truth, which is real honor, before anything else, exists in one man's heart, and he actually means it,
Mhm.
there is hope. So many people are despairing, they're blackpilling, they're doomers. Oh, it's all going to end. Some of it's going to end, for sure. It's not all going to end. We've been here before, and I still believe in the American nation. I still believe in the Europeans. I still believe in my people that they will kick out of this near fall, if I can use a wrestling term. I truly do. I don't think it's over. We've been in worse situations, actually, and we still found a way through.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
people
mean,
have to stop dooming. Stop it.
yeah, no, well, it
Stop it.
always goes around in circles. That's true. But yeah,
Yes.
no, sophistry is certainly not the way to go. Sophocles and all that kind of nonsense. Go with Stoicism. Marcus
Yep.
Aurelius,
Go with
Meditations. Get it, read it, live it.
old Aristotle. He,
Yeah,
he knew some stuff.
yeah,
Old Aristotle.
that's true.
He knew his stuff.
But seriously, you should read the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You should.
Should. Which, by the way, he never intended anybody else ever to read. Those were written for himself.
Yeah, it
And
was like a journal of
yeah,
some kind. Yeah, but
it
no, I
might be
mean,
the most
yeah.
important book besides Scripture that's ever been written.
Hmm.
At least most influential, because anybody who's anybody at the top of the food chain has read it. Yeah, even if they say they haven't, I guarantee you they have.
Yeah,
They have. This was the most powerful man in the world, one of the most powerful men to ever live, period, in his actual inner monologue, what he thought and felt. Yes, they read that. Of course they did.
of
Why
course they do.
wouldn't you want
Yeah,
to read that?
yeah. Well, anyway, it's time.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
I got work, and definitely, you guys have yourselves a good week. I think this is a normal week here. We got Bugbear's Basement, of course, continuing Iron Pass. We're having fun with that. And of course, I think we're doing Don Bluth this week on Drone Recorded Ultimate Edition, which is awesome. I do like me some Don Bluth. But definitely come back and we'll be talking about whatever there is to talk about next week, of course. Enjoy these little, I don't get a lot of opportunities to talk politic or any of that kind of stuff. It's like, for me, this is it, right? Because it's
Yep.
certainly, in my day-to-day life, you don't, you shouldn't talk politics, right? So I don't. I usually talk about recipes and yeah, women shit.
Oh, all right, Chester. Are you ready? We've been talking a lot about. We've been dancing around this very specific thing that so much of the West, especially, but really all over the definitely in the West, has fallen victim to in the last little while here. And it is a very simple one. The toll of wishful thinking always comes due, without expectation and with a thunder.
Mm, namaste. Later, everybody.